The great wave of magical technology. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676 Fierce Battle. A golden lightning bolt struck out from the sledgehammer, and the whole world seemed to be frozen by the golden lightning. How could it be possible to trigger the thunder punishment so easily? The face of the old man in black changed drastically. You know, he had lifted the third seal before, and although it also caused changes in the sky, it was definitely not like this time. The thunder punishment between heaven and earth began to brew in the air. The golden lightning instantly cut through the sky and landed directly on the undead banner. Not good. The undead, which had already been more than half dead or injured, was completely destroyed by the golden lightning in an instant. Just when he wanted to control the undead banner and attack again, he felt that the undead banner suddenly ran away. It flashed slightly in the air and appeared in front of him, pressing and hitting him. This undead banner actually wanted to devour its master. All of this happened so quickly that the old man in black didn't even think about it, let alone dodge. You actually want to devour the master. Unexpectedly, the undead banner was more fierce than he imagined. The old man in black obviously miscalculated. The powerful power of the dead flowed into the black-clothed old man's body through his arms and spread throughout his body. Not long after, his flesh and blood began to shrink. He had no choice but to give up the control of the dead banner. Yunfan would naturally not miss this opportunity. The perfect world domain was instantly unfolded, and the black-clothed old man was controlled in midair. The uncontrolled dead banner lost its power and fell to the ground. Yunfan picked up the dead banner directly, looked at it for a moment, and put it into his own Dragon Ball world. That's mine. Seeing that Yunfan actually put the dead banner into his pocket, the black-clothed old man who had been controlled shouted loudly, "It's mine now." Yunfan raised the corner of his mouth slightly and said in a flat tone, "You are a robber. That is the artifact given to me by my god. This time, you are finished. Without this weapon, how can I resist?" Yunfan moved his mind and went to the black-clothed old man. Just when Yunfan came to the black-clothed old man, a scroll on the black-clothed old man suddenly floated up and exploded into powder. A large amount of water element suddenly surged out of the surrounding void. As soon as the water element flowed into the air, they automatically formed a shield, which condensed into shape in almost the blink of an eye. At this moment, everything in this void seemed to slow down. The water element affects the rules of time and space, which can only be done by the gods who have a deep understanding of the origin among the gods. With the supreme gods, comprehend the rules of world changes, thereby affecting time and space. Yunfan's face changed. Yunfan's perfect domain was also stripped away, and the huge blue shield suddenly exploded. Yunfan's world power dissipated in the void, as if it had never appeared. Yunfan was backlashed by this power, and couldn't help spitting out a mouthful of blood. The power of the scroll blue shield is obviously not the power of the black-clothed old man, but a scroll he brought with him. This scroll is a god-level scroll. The owner of this scroll is a master among the gods, and is likely a high-ranking god. Really amazing. The old man in black also broke out in a cold sweat. If it weren't for the god of assassins who gave me a life-saving scroll, the great water god King Shield could save my life in times of crisis, I would have been captured now. Oh no, this is the great water god King Shield scroll, a life-saving charm refined by a high-level alchemy god. Sakadin screamed, and Yunfan hadn't figured out what was going on. Don't be excited. How can I not be excited? The great water god King Shield scroll is very rare in the god continent. Hurry up. His life-saving scroll can only be used once. Capture him quickly, otherwise something bad will happen. Yunfan recovered. At this time, anything he said was false. He had to make a move again. The opportunity was not to be missed. This guy has scrolls made by high-level alchemists, so there must be some good stuff on him. Don't let him waste it. I'm afraid it's the spoils of war he got. Yunfan said as he took out a pair of bracelets from the Dragon Ball world and stuck them on the old man's hands. At the moment when his spirit flashed, Yunfan stood up again. Do you still want to use that trick? It's too late. The black-clothed old man's eyes were full of black light, and his body burst out with endless momentum. The strength between the two is actually not much different. Yunfan was caught off guard, so he naturally couldn't escape, but he was prepared to buy time, so he didn't have to be afraid. It's not easy. This guy is prepared. It's hard to control him again. His strength is extremely strong, and he is a leader in the semi-god realm. Yunfan sighed lightly. Damn, this kid, his characteristics are so weird. The old man in black frowned. God travels in all directions. The old man in black had an idea, and took out a black dagger. Then all his strength was poured into the dagger. This God travels in all directions is an extremely advanced body movement. Once this body movement was activated, the old man in black turned into a residual image. The moment he approached Yunfan, he shot out a black air blade, which rotated at high speed, whizzed past, and cut off from all sides. Puff, puff. It actually completely cut off Yunfan's domain. You are worthy of being the one chosen by Giant Shan Mountain. The old man in black's cold voice sounded, and he did not hesitate at all. He waved the dagger in his left hand, opened the 5 fingers of his right hand, and countless black death energy flew out, condensed into blades, chopped, and covered it fiercely. Seeing that the man in black did not retreat, Yunfan showed a sneer on his face. In close combat, since his physical body reached the level of mid-level artifact, he really has never been afraid of anyone. The power of the man in black kept changing, but Yunfan did not care at all. Demon killing style. The black-clothed old man was full of death energy. He did not stop. He opened his fingers again, and countless death energy flew out. This time the death energy was much stronger than the beginning. It formed black snakes and entangled together. Then, he suddenly exerted force again, and pressed down on Yunfan. He just pressed on Yunfan, as if a god came down from heaven. Yunfan didn't care about this situation at all. He suddenly raised his hand to meet it. How could this happen? The black-clothed old man's face was incredible until he fell to the ground. Why is my power gone? Yunfan put the confinement ring on the black-clothed old man's wrist, and the black-clothed old man's perception of the elemental power in his body completely disappeared. Winnie looked at the imprisoned black-clothed old man with a complicated expression. If it weren't for this black-clothed old man, she would have died more than 10 years ago, but he brought her into endless darkness. The assassin's existence will never see the light. Chapter 677 Reason. Teacher. Winnie looked at the black-clothed old man imprisoned there with a complicated expression. Don't call me teacher. I don't have a disciple like you. The black-clothed old man responded in a cold tone. The black-clothed old man turned around and asked Yunfan, why don't you just kill me? Don't you think a living demigod level master is valuable? Yunfan said in a flat tone. The black-clothed old man thought of the rumors about Yunfan some time ago, and his face couldn't help but become gloomy. Are you going to blackmail my assassin temple? How can this be called blackmail? It's just selling a prisoner of war. Yunfan said angrily. Aren't you afraid of the revenge of my assassin temple for doing this? The black-clothed old man said viciously. What do you think the assassin's temple needs to pay to deal with me? Are there many masters like you in the assassin's temple? Yunfan asked back calmly. It's not that I'm conceited, but no matter how many demigod level masters come, they are just food for the taking. The face of the old man in black became extremely ugly. He knew that what Yunfan said was true. Although the assassin's temple had many demigod level masters, most of them were not as good as himself. Although there were demigod level masters who were stronger than himself, they were only one level higher than himself. It was really not certain that he could do anything to the bastard in front of him. Because of the existence of the world seal, even if the gods came, they could only exert the strength of demigods. Come on, lock this old man up for me, Yunfan said to his men not far away. Yunfan's name appeared again in the hidden forces. Many people in the hidden forces were shocked. Although the assassin's temple was not the most powerful existence in the hidden forces, they were good at assassination. Normally, no one would want to offend such a group of lunatics. This guy's really fearless. The reputation of being a money grubber spread among the hidden forces. Yunfan was very happy with the valuable resources he got in exchange. He fantasized whether there would be other forces to trouble him again. Robbery is indeed the most effective way to make money. One day, Avril was chatting with Winnie when she accidentally saw the jade pendant on Winnie. Why does this jade pendant look so familiar? I seem to have seen a similar one somewhere. Avril frowned and thought, what? Sister Avril, you have seen a similar jade pendant. Where did you see it? Winnie asked anxiously. Sister Winnie, wait a moment, let me think about it. After thinking for more than a minute, Avril suddenly jumped up excitedly. I remembered that I had seen a similar jade pendant somewhere. Winnie said excitedly, really? Tell me where you have seen it. I saw it at my good sister Amy's place. I took it and looked at it for a long time. Where is Amy now? I'm not sure about that. Avril sighed slightly. Sister Winnie, you also have a jade pendant like this on you. Do you have a close relationship with Amy? There were originally 2 jade pendants. This jade pendant was a gift from my mother when I was 10 years old, and the other one was worn by my mother on my newborn sister. If the jade pendant you said is really on your good sister Amy, then she is very likely my sister. But Amy never said that she has a sister. Because of a false legend, my family suffered a devastating disaster. In order to let my sister survive, my mother asked someone to take her away, and the person who took her away died. My sister's whereabouts has also become a mystery. If you put it that way, it's possible. Sister Avril, you must help me. Winnie said excitedly, holding Avril's hand. Don't worry, Sister Winnie, I will definitely help you. Amy is my best friend. Yunfan just came back and saw Avril and Winnie hugging each other and crying, and he couldn't help but be surprised. What's wrong with you two? Why are you crying? Sister Winnie may be Amy's biological sister, Avril said to Yunfan excitedly. Yunfan was slightly stunned, not understanding how this female killer suddenly became Amy's biological sister. Winnie did not hide anything and told her life story in full. Yunfan was a little sighed when he heard it. Looking up and down Winnie again, comparing her with the girl in his memory, he found that the two really had a lot of similarities. If no one mentioned it, Yunfan would never think about it in that direction. I haven't seen Amy for a long time, and I don't know how the little girl is now, Yunfan said casually. You are such a heartless man. You have been gone for such a long time. Amy has been to your fiefdom several times. Avril curled her lips, as if she felt that Amy was not worthy of it. I have not been on the mainland for the past 2 years, Yunfan replied. What do you mean you have not been on the mainland for the past 2 years? Of course it means literally. Did you go to the kingdom of some god, or to another world? Winnie obviously knew much more than Avril. Sister Winnie, is there another world besides our mainland? Yes, there are countless planes in the entire universe, and many planes are even similar to the mainland we are in. Many masters who have reached the peak of demigods will choose to leave here and go to other worlds, or to the kingdom of gods who believe in gods. Why is that? Because this world is sealed, and no power above the demigod level is allowed to appear. Only by going to other worlds or kingdoms can you get a breakthrough, Yunfan suddenly said. How do you know so much? Avril was very depressed. She never thought that after only 2 years, Yunfan's knowledge and strength far surpassed hers. The world of geniuses, how can you mortals understand it? Yunfan said with a smile as if joking. Just show off here. Did you go to the kingdom of the sword god? Thinking of the rumors that the guy in front of her had a close relationship with the sword god mountain, Winnie couldn't help but guess that he went to the sword god mountain. No. Yunfan just gave a simple answer and didn't continue to say anything. He didn't want too many people to know about the things in the evil dragon world. Chapter 678 Aegean Relics. A world with the spirit of the world might tempt the high-level gods. Yunfan thought for a moment and said, the situation in the imperial capital is complicated and changeable. After this period of time, we will go to find out about Amy. Avril did not object to Yunfan's suggestion. The current situation is, just as Yunfan said. The last time I left the imperial capital, Amy said she was going to the Aegean ruins. I was planning to go with her, but you know what happened later. Avril said. Aegean ruins? Yunfan was a little confused. It is a relic discovered long ago on the continent. The relic belongs to an empire called Aegean. It should have a history of more than 2000 years. The relic has been fully developed over the past 2000 years. It is probably difficult to gain much from going there. Winnie is very familiar with the history of the continent. As a former noble, she is very strict in educating her children. But there has always been a legend about the Aegean ruins. It is said that the Aegean Empire has obtained the civilization of the Mayan world. It can be traced back to the Mayan heritage. Could it be that Amy has obtained some useful information? The situation in the imperial capital changed very quickly. No one expected that there was still an imperial guard lurking in the imperial capital. The lowest strength of this imperial guard was level 7, and the leader of the imperial guard was the former emperor, Avel's grandfather Hercules, who was known as the former first god of war in the empire, and had the peak strength of a demigod. Later, it was said that the old emperor disappeared after handing over power. Who knew that he actually hid and formed the imperial guard? Overnight, the imperial guard swept through all the rebellious nobles. Many people from the hidden forces were shocked. They never thought that the empire that they could arbitrarily ravage in their minds would have such a background. In a courtyard in the imperial capital, a small empire actually has such a background. How did they do it? Are there other hidden things? A cold voice sounded, and a young man in a black robe walked in from the main door. The young man had narrow eyes and a high nose. The whole person was like a poisonous snake. Just his gaze made people tremble involuntarily, as if they might die at any time. Several people who were discussing in the room stood up and greeted. It turned out to be Lord Azura. Many people began to murmur in their hearts, how could this guy suddenly appear here? The strength of a cultivator cannot be judged by appearance. The stronger the cultivator, the younger his appearance. If you encounter some cultivators who look like teenagers or even children, you should be careful and vigilant. All of them are demigods, but their strength is divided into 369 levels, and their status is also very different. Although the hidden forces did not interfere in the affairs of ordinary empires in the past, they would also divide a ranking list according to the strength of the children of the forces. Those who have the potential to break through to the level of gods would naturally be greatly cultivated. Shura is such a person. Azura is a man of the hour among the hermit forces. He belongs to the Shura temple and is the most cruel and ruthless hunter in the Shura temple. He once killed 6 demigod level strongmen by himself. It is said that he is the illegitimate son of the Azura god and has the blood of the Azura god. If you can't handle a small empire, what's the use of you? Azura said calmly, is it necessary for other temples to help me if my Azura temple wants to change the dynasty? The man opposite Azura's face changed drastically. I dare not deceive you, sir. This empire is really hidden too deeply. He told the details of the matter. Azura nodded gently, with a slight smile on his lips. So that's how it is. I will personally support you in 2 days. Everyone was surprised and said, if you go, the big thing will be done. They were surprised on the surface, but they were secretly cursing in their hearts. What on earth does this guy want to do? An ordinary empire shouldn't attract your attention. The replacement of empires basically has the shadow of hidden forces. The water temple likes to infiltrate slowly, while the Azura temple likes to crush directly. The 5th on the quasi-god list intervenes. The credit of ordinary decision makers like them will be reduced a lot. A small empire doesn't need the masters of the quasi-god list to intervene. Everyone smiled bitterly in their hearts, but on the surface they were extremely surprised and didn't dare to complain at all. Azura's temper was also ranked among the hidden forces, and he was deeply loved by the Azura god. Azura glanced at everyone and didn't bother to pay attention to other people's opinions. He said, notify me when you take action. After that, he turned and left. What's going on? Why does Azura want to take action? Many people were puzzled. Who knows what happened? That guy, Humph. Don't talk nonsense. He has the capital to do so. The man wanted to say that if you were the illegitimate child of the goddess of Azura, you could be so awesome, but there are some things that cannot be said, otherwise it would bring endless trouble to oneself. Actually, I have heard something. It involves the saint of the church of the goddess of nature. Is that the one that Azura has been pursuing? She is obviously the saint of the church of the goddess of nature, but her murderous intention is heavier than ours. Yes, it's her. It is said that the saint once lived in this empire for many years, and it is said that she gave birth to a daughter. Azura once asked the saint of the church of the goddess of nature who the man was, but the saint of the church of the goddess of nature did not tell Azura. It is probably because of this matter. There is such a saying, it can't be true. I just heard the rumor. Lord Ashura, it is not worth it for you to come here in person for a woman, and for a mortal empire. A black shadow beside Ashura said with a slight bow. It's not about worth or not, it's only about whether I'm willing or not. No one can reject me. She rejected me for a man. I will destroy the empire. That man belongs to. When I find that man, I will make him wish he were dead. A cold light flashed in Ashura's eyes and an angry expression appeared on his face. Who is he? Ashura, the son of God of Ashura Temple, 5th on the quasi-god list, only one step away from igniting the divine fire and becoming a real god. He was rejected by a woman. The woman rejected him, and she actually married an ordinary person. In his opinion, this is an insult to him, so he must take revenge. In this way, we may offend the water temple. They have been preparing for many years. Chapter 679 Imperial Guard. What is the water god temple? It's just a group of scheming hypocrites. If it weren't for my god suppressing me, I would have led my men to attack the water god temple long ago, Ashura said viciously. At the same time, on the legendary sword god mountain, a man who looked to be in his 40s looked up at the sky and said leisurely, the destruction clan has reappeared in the world, and it won't take long for them to re-establish the immortal legion. However, other temples have once again made a big move to compete for the power of faith. Master, do you think we should do something about it? Everyone in the world is greedy. Even you and I cannot transcend the secular world. Another spirited old man next to the man responded. Besides, even if we issue the sword god order, will they really accept it? I hope we will win this battle in the end. How are the elders going to deal with Zephaniah Archibald? I have to say that, although Zephaniah Archibald's talent is not very good, he is definitely a genius. It is rare in the history of our sword god mountain to be able to practice the realm art to this level. To be honest, it is beyond my expectation that he can practice the forbidden art to this level. Forget it, let's lock him up for a while. Fight and kill, the more the better. The people of the Destruction Clan shouted excitedly. With the start of the war, the aura of destruction in the world became stronger, and their strength was slowly increasing every minute and every second. The next morning, the army was approaching. Why do you, who are so high and mighty, suddenly attack? Why? Because being weak is your original sin. If you surrender obediently, I may give you a chance to live. Do you mean to enslave my people? While the two sides were talking, the Imperial Guards had arrived. Father, I'm sorry for not protecting this country well. This matter cannot be blamed on you. The Empire has been in turmoil for a long time. How could I not know? The leader of the Imperial Guard said leisurely. The leader of the Imperial Guards was an old man with white hair and a youthful face. The old man stood there with or without anger, and his momentum was not inferior to that of anyone in the Shura temple. You are the so-called god of war of the Empire? You dare to call yourself the god of war? You really don't know what you mean. The people of the Ashura temple said sarcastically. What does it have to do with you what I call myself? You still don't know what you mean. You take yourself too seriously? The old emperor said sarcastically. How dare you? Aren't you afraid that we will massacre the imperial capital? The people of the Ashura temple asked back. If you want a dead city, why bother to think about it? Your Ashura temple is no different from other temples, but it's all for the power of faith. The old emperor said with a sneer. Since the two have reached the point where they cannot be coordinated, the old emperor naturally doesn't need to hide anything, and simply speaks it out directly. I didn't expect you to have such insight. Why don't you join my Ashura temple? Do you want to use me to exploit my people? It must have taken you a lot of effort to build such an army. Are you really willing to lose it in your hands? Ashura sat leisurely on a chariot, watching the two sides quarreling with interest. What does it matter if I'm willing or not? Even if I die in battle, I will never compromise. You should just give up on this. In that case, we can only send you to see the god of death. Let me try your strength first. A demigod level strongman from the Ashura temple suddenly made a move. He flipped his palm lightly, and a blood-colored knife appeared in his palm. The knife was only the size of a palm. After the knife left his palm, it grew in the wind and soon became a 9-foot-long knife. Kill. The man swung the blood-red sword in his hand, and the surrounding sky and earth suddenly changed color. The sky was originally clear, but it suddenly became pitch black. Endless dark element gathered, and the blood-red sword in the dark sky was just as conspicuous. Then he slashed down at the old emperor. There was a loud bang. The old emperor was not to be outdone. He held a golden sword in his hand and stood up. The whole earth around him trembled. The two weapons collided fiercely. The powerful impact was mixed with a harsh sound. The people on both sides all changed their colors. Avril saw the sky and earth change color from afar and was shocked. Is this the power of a demigod? In fact, there are many people in the entire imperial capital who are paying attention to this war. Although the imperial guards have shown their fangs, people do not have a very intuitive understanding. The imperial guards easily broke through wherever they went, and even the old emperor had never taken action. This time, the confrontation between the two was simply earth-shaking! In their eyes, the demigod-level strongmen were unattainable. Those ordinary imperial soldiers were all shocked. They couldn't believe it. Everyone, set up the battle formation. Today we will let these high and mighty hidden forces know that our empire is not easy to mess with. The dignity of our imperial soldiers cannot be tarnished. For the glory of the empire. For the glory of the empire. For the glory of the empire. The momentum was earth-shaking. God of War Team 1, you occupy my left wing. The old emperor ordered. God of War Team 2, you are on my right wing. Yes. The big men of the God of War Team guards responded one by one. Today we will kill the gods. Kill the gods to prove the truth. Kill the gods to prove the truth. Of course, the gods mentioned by the imperial guards are not real gods, but demigods. Okay, very good. Today I want to see how you kill gods. The faces of the demigods and the Asherah temple suddenly changed. They all felt that their dignity was challenged. There were even two demigod-level strongmen who attacked together. Asherah divine sword. The demigod who had just attacked slashed again fiercely. The blood-colored sword burst out with a 10-foot blade light and slashed fiercely in the direction of the Imperial Guards. But this time, a shout suddenly sounded, and the Imperial Guards moved in unison and attacked fiercely together. This attack was extraordinary, containing the power of all the guards. It was not as simple as 1+1. With a bang, the blood-colored longsword was actually repelled. The faces of the people in the Asherah temple changed again. Chapter 680 Battle Formation. This combined attack is so powerful. The demigod-level warrior who had just launched the attack frowned. It can actually block my Asherah sword. This battle formation is not simple. Just some low-level warriors can block the Asherah sword with the help of the formation. This formation. With his knowledge, he couldn't tell what kind of battle formation this was, which made him feel uneasy. The other masters of the Asherah temple beside him were also full of confusion and uneasiness. Such a powerful combined attack. What kind of formation is it? The guards used the combined attack formed by the formation to block the Asherah sword. They also felt a little powerless. Come on, let me fight to my heart's content. An extremely strange golden mark appeared behind the old emperor. The mark suddenly lit up and sensed a huge star in the depths of the void separated by countless layers of space. This is the arrival of the divine light. The stars on the horizon seemed to cross the endless world in the endless void and descend directly on the old emperor. Zizzy. The surroundings suddenly turned into a world of golden light. The huge golden light turned into a lotus, completely enveloping the old emperor. Even Asherah was shocked when he saw this scene. This situation was very similar to his current situation. This guy's not simple. What is going on? The people from the Asherah temple stared at the golden lotus in the distance in amazement. Just by looking through the flower, they could sense how powerful the golden lotus was. Let me see what this golden lotus is like. A demigod in the Asherah temple pointed from a distance. Full. A black and red moon suddenly lit up in the sky. A demon flew out of the black and red moon. The demon stretched out a black hand. The hand suddenly grabbed the void and smashed directly at the golden lotus. The golden lotus and the hand collided with each other, and with a bang. Although the golden lotus trembled, it also blocked the black hand. The guards were all very nervous. Too strong. We must stop him no matter what, otherwise we will die. Everyone understood the gap between them and these hidden forces. What exactly is that golden lotus? Although Yunfan could sense the power of the lotus, he was also confused. At this moment, the old emperor stood there like a demon god, radiating light, with a surging breath, white hair flying, and a wave of divine power surging faintly, which could burst out with powerful and incomparable fighting power at any time. Lord Ashura, although this guy's powerful, he is just an emperor of the mortal world. You are already a quasi-god. Even if he has some small skills, he will definitely not be in your eyes. The people in the Ashura temple felt the powerful momentum emanating from the old emperor, and they couldn't help but feel a little scared, and hurriedly patted the Ashura on the side. If they knew that you were here, they would definitely not dare to fight. Those saints also said so. Ashura stood there, scanning the old man in front of him, and he couldn't help but be on guard in his heart. What realm is this old guy in? Could it be that this old guy has also reached the quasi-god realm? If it is really the quasi-god realm, then it will be difficult. In fact, only the old emperor himself knows the distress in his heart. Although he has reached the semi-god realm, he has lost the opportunity to impact the god realm because of his old age. He used the forbidden technique to force his power to break through to the quasi-god realm and has completely consumed his remaining potential. I didn't expect that a small mortal empire would have such a foundation. As long as we can destroy them, the foundation of this empire will be ours. Ashura didn't care too much about killing the mortal empire. No. He is full of the breath of old age, and I'm afraid he won't live long. If this is the case, he is now consuming his own vitality at the cost of his own vitality. The longer it drags on, the more life this old guy will consume. Once his vitality is completely exhausted, the so-called gods will be dead. Ashura suddenly said. The old emperor naturally knew his own situation, and was even more eager to kill the people from the Ashura temple in front of him. The golden rain fell from nowhere, with a little warmth, like silken mist, spreading everywhere. The golden light of dusk rain. This guy has opened the quasi-god domain. The people of the Ashura temple, except Ashura, all showed horror. They never thought that a quasi-god level strongman would emerge from an empire in the mortal world. This golden dusk rain heralded death and crisis. A golden dusk rain sword light passed by, and a warrior of the Ashura temple flew up and fell to the ground. All this happened too fast, and there was murderous intent hidden in the rain. Walastin Alvis is dead. Walastin Alvis is dead. Many people in the Ashura temple screamed in fear, and everyone above the saint level had already opened their own domain. This strange golden rain made them unable to avoid or escape. Several people from the Ashura temple were killed by Muyu one after another, but Ashura was watching all this with interest, and he didn't seem to have any intention of taking action. What exactly is that guy called Ashura planning? Even the old emperor couldn't understand the situation in front of him. He felt layers of pressure from Ashura. He knew that, if this guy took action, he would never be able to kill so many people from the Ashura temple. Being able to kill several saint-level strongmen, Jin's Muayu's power has been exhausted. But at the same time, the people of the Ashura temple were also terrified. With the blessing of the imperial guards, the old emperor's strength was comparable to that of a quasi-god. All of you will die. The old emperor didn't want to delay any longer, and said calmly. Countless golden sword beams condensed in front of him. Those sword beams merged with the heaven and earth, and slashed towards the remaining people from the Ashura temple. Lord Ashura, help me. You are really useless. You can't even do such a small thing. What's the point of keeping you? Ashura, you will die a miserable death. As a fellow Ashura temple member, how can you do this to us? After hearing what Ashura said, the people in the Ashura temple all looked extremely ugly. Although they knew that Ashura was a man of his own will, they didn't expect that he would disregard everyone's life and death. The remaining people in the Ashura temple suddenly became crazy, supporting their own domains, trying to escape from the golden evening rain. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681 Overdraft. After a few breaths, several more people from the Ashura temple died. The imperial guards had exhausted all their strength and collapsed to the ground. Only the old emperor was still standing there, like an immortal god of war. At this time, Azura took slow steps, and with just a wave of his hand, he defeated the last connection between the Imperial Guards. The old Emperor couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. It's worth my life to be able to kill so many supermasters. Father, how are you? The current Emperor saw that his father was injured and couldn't help but panic. Don't worry, I can't die now. The old Emperor sighed. He had consumed too much vitality. Even if he didn't die today, he would definitely not live for more than half a year. Seeing this situation, Yunfan couldn't help but shake his head. Did you see something? Avril couldn't help but get nervous. The old man's health is very bad. Even if he doesn't die today, he probably won't live for half a year. How is it possible? How can you know Grandpa's condition from such a distance? Just when everyone thought that the fall of the empire was a foregone conclusion, the entire imperial capital was suddenly shrouded in a very strange momentum. There is actually a magic array in this imperial capital? Gabrielith Arnold of the Azura Temple is a demigod level master who likes to study magic arrays and prohibitions. Feeling the strange atmosphere shrouding the entire imperial capital, he couldn't help but frown deeply. This magic array is probably not simple. If I'm not mistaken, this large array is called the Underworld Locking God Array. It is a legendary array in the underworld. It seems that it should have been simplified by some people. But even so, its power cannot be underestimated. It is no less than some god level magic arrays. So powerful? Even the arrogant Azura was surprised, and his face changed. Azura knew that the value of this magic circle was no less than that of the artifact Solo Scepter in his hand. Is there any solution? Are we just going to watch the old thing drag on? Some members of the Azura Temple who were not very powerful asked anxiously. In fact, since I heard about this formation, I have studied it specifically, and there are indeed some ways. Gabrielith Arnold walked forward immediately, and Azura followed immediately. This group of people in the Azura Temple were the most useful to him, and he was the only magic circle master. He naturally had to ensure the safety of Gabrielith Arnold. Everyone in the Azura Temple looked at the Imperial capital not far away. Those dots are like stars, which are the reflection of the underworld. Gabrielith Arnold said. What are underworld world? The underworld is worthy of being on par with my god's domain. Azura looked at the dots of stars and nodded slightly. Gabrielith Arnold continued. The great earthquake with the power of the underworld is not something I can easily break, so I need the help of Lord Azura. This formation is very powerful, and is almost an integrated offense and defense. The aura it emits should be the purest undead aura. Although this undead aura is powerful, it is also a violation of the person who set up the formation. The place where the undead aura is shrouded is where the formation is located. To break the entire magic underworld formation, it is too difficult, just like fighting against an incomplete underworld. I don't know when I can break it. Azura frowned. If you can't break it, what's the point of me protecting you? If it were just me, I really couldn't break it, but with Lord Azura here, it's different now. Your domain has evolved into a quasi-god domain, right? You can already directly draw away the power of these undead spirits. Although Gabrielith Arnold was very angry about what Azura said, he still pretended to be indifferent and smiled. Don't worry, sir. If this underworld formation is an integrated attack and defense, obviously it's not like that. Although I can't break the entire underworld formation, give me some time, sir. I can break through the space. Azura's face showed a trace of ferocity and surprise, and he said, if that's the case, these people will definitely die. He felt like he was being led by the nose, and this feeling made Azura very unhappy. Azura had to take down the other party no matter what. Azura, was a person on the dignified quasi-god list, so how could he really be afraid of this imperial capital? He was easily attacking now, but he was not sure about the formation. This so-called netherworld array is actually divided into 5 magic arrays, with 5 elemental powers as its foundation. Gabrielith Arnold said, I have observed it carefully before, and all parts are very smooth. Without any part, that is difficult to operate. It should be the magic array that was completed later. I have already understood a key point of it. With the help of your strength, as long as we use the magic weapon to hit people, we can destroy the foundation of this earthquake. The 5 parts complement each other. As long as there is a problem with one part, the whole town will be easy. Hahaha, good. Azura immediately showed a smile on his face. If you can succeed this time, you will follow me in the future and be my chief ray breaker. Although he is an outsider, but after listening to what the other party said, he felt that there should be no problem, and he felt that Gabriel Thanold was a promising talent. If he could take him under his command, it might be helpful for his future path. Who of those who can be on the list of quasi-gods is a simple person? If a master of the formation can see through the mystery of the formation, he only needs to use some means in some places to break the foundation of the war. Just because Gabriel Thanold cannot cut off the foundation of this formation does not mean that he cannot do it. Azura is a man who aspires to become a god. If he cannot even deal with an empire in the mortal world, it will damage his state of mind and affect his path to becoming a god. This is something he absolutely cannot allow to happen. He is the descendant of the god Azura. Sir, Gabriel Thanold said with a smile, it is in this direction. It is in this position. Lord Azura, as long as you can launch a powerful attack, this 1/5 magic war will inevitably collapse. Without the protection of the magic formation, the Imperial army can only fight us head on. The so-called gods have lost their power, and the other armies are weak. They will definitely not have much impact on us. Their destruction is in sight. Azura nodded slightly. I hope what you said is true. Chapter 680 To borrowing a knife. Whoosh. Azura took out a magic knife from somewhere and immediately turned into a stream of light, flying towards the position that Gabriel Thanold said, and then slashed down with the magic knife in his hand. The magic knife in Azura's hand was a divine weapon made for him by a god-level craftsman when he was in the Azura kingdom. It can be said to be an indestructible treasure. But a strange stone pillar that looked like ripples in clear water appeared out of thin air. There were various patterns carved on the stone pillar. Yunfan could tell the origin of this thing at a glance. It was a cornerstone of this magic circle. When the magic knife and the huge stone pillar collided, the whole world seemed to be shaken, and the ground shook. That knife is a good treasure, Yunfan said with a slight sigh. That knife is really good. It has reached the level of a divine weapon. Sakadin replied, why are you going to take it from him? What do you mean by taking it? It's a waste of resources to leave it to that guy. Besides, can we call it taking it from a cultured person? At most, it can be called borrowing. Yunfan said happily. I find that you are becoming more and more shameless. You say such words so openly. After several collisions, several axes of cracks appeared on the stone pillar. The faces of the people who were hiding in the underworld formation changed drastically. Damn it, how come there is someone in the Azura temple who is good at magic formation? Although the whole formation is of god level, it is not complete. With the strength of a quasi-god, it is not impossible to break this formation. What should we do now? Should we give up? And that is a quasi-god level existence. Can we really escape? The eyes of the Imperial Guards showed determination. If you don't take action again, they will probably be finished. Sakadin said. Don't worry, I have a certain understanding of that person's strength. He is not my opponent, but to be honest, the people in the Azura temple are really good. No matter what, he is from the Azura kingdom of this world. Sakadin rolled his eyes and said, but I'm more and more curious about how many secrets this plane world hides. Why don't the gods fly to the higher world? This is also something that I have been puzzled about. I have a feeling that I may have to confront these gods in the future. Yunfan sighed slightly. Isn't it good to develop in high level areas? The answer is yes. If these gods can give up going to higher areas, there must be something they are reluctant to give up. I'm afraid that I will become the target of these gods directly after getting the crystal of this world. We can't get out. The old emperor said softly. Without the protection of the formation, our strength is no match for that quasi-god. It is impossible to escape. In this case, let's fight. Fight with this quasi-god. Before that, the most important thing is to kill this demigod who knows the formation. Avral's father, the current emperor, also nodded. I thought I had survived this disaster, but I didn't expect a quasi-god to appear. A quasi-god level strongman came to deal with an empire in my mortal world. My empire is proud of it. Everyone listen, the war is about to start, and those who can escape must escape. The old emperor suddenly said to the guards around him, my lord, we will never abandon you no matter what. The guards responded loudly. This is no longer a question of abandoning or not. You have all been through life and death with me. You have fought for the glory of the entire empire, and you have paid enough. And only by living can there be hope. My lord, I will cover you in a while. We will cover you. We will cover you. My lord will definitely avenge us. The battle just now has consumed my vitality. I don't have much time left. Remember that you must live well, and let the glory of the empire rise again. Everyone present looked at the old emperor. At this moment, Yunfan felt the determination of the imperial guards and the old emperor. When the Azura temple found the weakness of the Hades formation, it was destined that the imperial army had no way out. You wait here for me to help. Yunfan turned to Winnie and Avril and said. But, Avril looked at Yunfan with some worry. The strength of the people in the Azura temple was too strong. She didn't want her friend Yunfan to die, but she had a hope deep in her heart that Yunfan would be able to create a miracle and rescue his father and grandfather. A strong man at the level of Azura quasi-god. Yunfan looked not far away, with a cold light flashing in his eyes. I want to see how powerful the quasi-god is. Kill. 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 At this time, not only the Imperial Guards entered the underworld formation, but also many ordinary soldiers of the Empire entered it. Yunfan took a step and entered the famous formation. You shouldn't have come. After seeing Yunfan, Avril's father looked at him with a complicated expression and couldn't help but sighed slightly. If you have a chance, take Avril away from here. I know you have the ability. Your Majesty, don't you believe that I can help you defeat the enemy? Yunfan said with a slight smile. You are still too young. That guy named Azura has reached the level of quasi-god. He doesn't even take ordinary demigods seriously. You. Oh, no, I won't say anything. You should take care of yourself. Avril's father said in one breath this time. Maybe you can't escape at all. Your Majesty, I said I came to save you. How can I leave if I don't save you? Yunfan said in a calm tone. I didn't expect that there would be people who wanted to die. You are a pretty good emperor. At this time, Azura suddenly said. I'm really curious. You, a great master at the level of quasi-god, would condescend to come to my empire in the mortal world and destroy my empire. Why is that? Avril's father took a deep breath and asked with some doubts. Because someone touched my woman. I want to let the people of this empire be buried with her. Azura's eyes flashed with coldness. Just for a woman, you actually let the entire empire suffer. Avril's father's face was so gloomy that it seemed like water could be squeezed out. What can a small mortal empire do? It's just a group of ants. Chapter 683 Divine Power. Azura looked at Avril's father with contempt. Until now, Azura didn't know that the man he was looking for was the man in front of him. You are totally ignorant. Today, we will let you see how the ants in your eyes can fight against the gods. The old emperor was serious and cold at this moment. You are still preparing to fight against the gods. You think too highly of yourself. Ants are always ants, and will never know how high the sky is. What I can't stand the most is someone pretending to be cool. Yunfan sneered at Azura. Are you going to die, kid? There will be no good end if you anger me. Azura looked at Yunfan silently and said. You will know the result only after you fight. Yunfan said with an evil smile. Seeing Yunfan's words, Azura couldn't help but frown. According to the direction from which the guy in front of him came out, this guy should have seen him take action. He still behaved like this until now. Is he really fearless? He knew everyone on the quasi-god list of the continent, but this guy in front of him was not on the list. Where did this guy come from? He is Dante, the king of one word side by side. At this time, someone had already recognized Yunfan's identity. Azura nodded thoughtfully. So you are the king of one word side by side, who made a lot of noise some time ago. Wouldn't it be good to be your king of one word side by side? There is no empire anymore, so why do I need the title of king of one word side by side? Yunfan shrugged slightly and said. Since you want to die so much, I will fulfill your wish. Azura held the Azura demon knife in his hand, with murderous intent in his eyes, and quickly approached the direction where Yunfan was. King of one word side by side, you can do whatever you want. I will bless you with the power of the underworld array now. The old emperor suddenly said. Countless stars appeared out of thin air in the surrounding underworld air. Those stars were suspended high in the air of the imperial capital, and then a faint blue light enveloped them, and a trace of power was injected into Yunfan's body. Yunfan was slightly stunned. He did not expect that this underworld formation would be so magical. Even his world power was amplified, and the amplification was not small. That is the projection of the stars in the underworld. Each star has infinite power. It was a sense of oppression from the underworld. The people in the Azura temple were all nervous. Even Gabriel Arnold, who was deducing, stopped. His face was also deeply solemn. The entire underworld formation was actually operating in a different posture. Even if they opened the domain was faintly suppressed. The black stars in the sky were like the call of the god of death. The power of the underworld is so strong. Azura's pupils shrank, and he glanced around. He was the calmest one among them, but he was also extremely cautious at this moment. After all, although he had reached the realm of quasi-god, he was not a true god. The underworld formation, that was fully operating, was still very oppressive to him. Humph, it's just pretending to be a god. A cold snort came out of Azura's mouth. How come the dignified quasi-god Azura is also scared? The old emperor took the opportunity to ridicule Azura domain. Purple lights suddenly appeared in the dark air around him. Azura stood there like a god of war. The blood-colored Azura domain was spread out in an instant, enveloping all the people in the Azura temple, and then forced the dark air away. King Yizi Bingxiang, right? Your name has been mentioned a while ago. I want to see what you are capable of. When the time came, Azura stood in his Azura domain and said coldly, since you want to fight me so much, then I will fulfill your wish. I hope you can let me have a good time. Yunfan snorted coldly, as if thunder had exploded. Not far away, Yunfan turned into a colorful stream of light and rushed out. A colorful dragon suddenly attacked in the blooming colorful divine light. This dragon was not a western dragon, but a legendary eastern beast. In a blink of an eye, the colorful dragon surrounded by the colorful divine light had arrived in front of Azura. The speed was so fast that Azura was shocked. This was the first time that Yunfan showed his true form as a dragon. There was no way that the magic sword in his hand could not be the opponent of the artifact Azura's magic knife. If the two touched, the weapon in his hand might be useless. I don't care what kind of monster you are, anyway, I want you to die. The Azura's magic knife in Azura's hand turned into a phantom and whipped towards the colorful dragon incarnated by Yunfan. But the speed of the colorful dragon was too fast, and the Azura's magic knife in Azura's hand just cut into nothing. What on earth are you? Azura couldn't tell at a glance what kind of magic beast the colorless dragon belonged to. He couldn't help but feel shaken in his heart. Don't worry about what I am. The five-colored dragon swung its tail and hit Azura directly. Azura flew out like a cannonball. If it weren't for the divine armor on his body, I'm afraid this attack would have cost him half his life. When the five-colored dragon stopped, Azura saw a boy slowly walking out. There was no five-colored dragon, but a human boy. The boy was emitting colorful light like a god or demon, and the energy wings behind him were fully spread out. Are you a demon beast in human form? Azura's face was full of doubts. He really couldn't think of any other possibilities. He knew that the attack just now should be a simple physical attack by this boy. This was not the power and physical body that ordinary humans could possess. This dragon transformation was the battle method of the ancient creation dragon. Once it was used, it could exert cross-level combat power. At this moment, he already had the strength of an ordinary god. His speed instantly soared several levels, surpassing ordinary gods. What is going on? How can you use power that exceeds that of a quasi-god? Looking at the young man bathed in the colorful divine light, the speed that was so fast that it shocked him, and the extremely powerful attack power, Azura's face became very ugly. He was now very confused. This world was very unfriendly to gods, and would never allow the emergence of power that exceeded that of a quasi-god. The god of Azura once wanted to break the restrictions of this world, but ended in failure. No, he is not a god. But why does he have the power of a god? What is going on? He had been in the kingdom of Azura, and had interacted with many gods. Chapter 684 Son of God. Because of Azura's special status, many gods would give him some face. In order to enable him to grow up as quickly as possible and understand the characteristics of gods, the god of Ashura once ordered him to fight with gods. This is the son of god of the Ashura temple, and he doesn't feel very good. Yunfan said in a flat tone. How dare you talk to me in this tone, die. Ashura's face changed. As a child of destiny, when has he ever been ridiculed like this? With a shout, the Ashura demon knife in his hand suddenly lit up. He suddenly made a chop, and the strange evil spirit on the Ashura demon knife suddenly surged, and then the whole magic knife became larger, and the black hair blade several meters wide directly tore through the void, like a demon opening his ferocious mouth towards Yunfan. Bathed in the colorful light, Yunfan's energy wings behind him only shook, and drew an arc, avoiding the black magic knife with infinite momentum. The power of the magic knife actually frightened him secretly. If he resisted it, it might cause damage to his body. Ashura war god, slash against the sky. Ashura suddenly turned around and controlled the black magic knife. The big knife with a strong black light suddenly turned and bombarded Yunfan again. This black magic knife attacked Yunfan again and again. After all, it was at the artifact level. Under the control of the quasi-god level Ashura, the speed was also very fast, only a little slower than Yunfan. Yunfan directly made his arm half dragon, and then his dragon hand was hard on the magic knife. The powerful force actually made the magic knife fly out of control to the side, and Yunfan drew an arc again to remove the impact, and killed in front of Ashura. Too fast. His speed is too fast, too flexible, and his body is too strong. He can actually withstand my magic knife without any damage. Ashura was extremely shocked. Just now, his magic knife of the artifact level had fought with Yunfan for many rounds, but he actually used his magic knife, and Yunfan blocked it with his bare hands. Although he didn't want to believe it in his heart, it happened in front of him, so he had to believe it. Go. Ashura shouted, and a black chain appeared in his hand. The black chain was glowing with black air. As Ashura waved his hand, the black rope quickly became longer. It was like a tentacle extending from hell, more than 100 meters long, like a big snake, and it coiled towards Yunfan. This weapon is called Shura Chain. It is the same as Shura magic knife. It comes from Shura Divine Kingdom, and has also reached the artifact level. However, Shura magic knife is mainly used for attack, while Shura chain is mainly used for restraint. This is the treasure that Ashura relies on to walk in the kingdom of gods. One is hard and the other is soft. The power of cooperation is endless. Generally, when facing those who are weaker than him, he will use the Ashura demon knife to kill them directly. However, if he encounters a difficult one and cannot confront it head on, he will use this Ashura chain to bind the opponent there and make him a living target. There is another chain. Yunfan looked at the 100-meter long black chain entangled with him, and his face changed slightly. Unless it is a higher level artifact, it is difficult to pose a threat to Yunfan. Yunfan does not believe that the chain in the opponent's hand can reach the level of a higher level artifact. Although this thing can't do anything to me, it's disgusting to be entangled by it. Many thoughts flashed through Yunfan's mind in an instant. In the following battle, Yunfan exerted his speed to the extreme, wanting to use the speed and flexibility that exceeded the opponent to get rid of the opponent's entanglement. But the opponent's Ashura chain is very disgusting, with the function of automatically searching for the enemy. Ashura stood there without moving at all, and the Ashura chain was already entangled, which really made Yunfan unable to use his skills. The perfect world is coming. Yunfan's thought moved, and suddenly there seemed to be no change around him, but an absolute change occurred. Ashura's domain was replaced. Although Ashura felt the change in his domain, he didn't know what happened. He frowned slightly. The domain he used just now? What kind of effect is this domain? Yunfan raised a smile at the corner of his mouth. His domain was a rogue, and he could imitate almost all domains. When the other party thought he could have absolute control, there was a sudden reversal. You can imagine how surprised the guy who was tricked would be. Yunfan's performance made Ashura feel very uneasy. He always felt that something bad would happen. He hurriedly controlled the Ashura's energy around him to turn into cyclones and rotate. These layers of thin air blades were like blades, extremely sharp, and cut directly towards Yunfan. He couldn't care about much now, and just wanted to kill Yunfan as soon as possible. Just when the air blade formed by the Asura's ki ditch was slashing at Ji Yunfan, the sword blade flowers formed by the Asura's ki around Ji Yunfan bloomed out of thin air, just right to block the air blade formed by the Asura's ki ditch. Asura's face suddenly changed. Who are you? How can you control the Asura's ki? Although the Asura's ki is an extension of the dark power, there is an essential difference. Ordinary people can only control the dark power at most, and the Asura's power is definitely a high level divine power. You can use this power, why can't I? Ji Yunfan smiled with his eyes narrowed. To be honest, Asura's state of mind has collapsed a little now. Because this is the power of my god. So what? Using the power of Asura privately without the permission of my god. Damn it. It's just the fusion of the power of the dead and the power of darkness. It seems that the Asura god has two gods. Ji Yunfan said in a calm tone. How could you know so much? The Asura power around Asura danced wildly. The Asura power simulated around Ji Yunfan was squeezed in an instant. Ji Yunfan's own strength is still a little lacking, although his physical body has reached the level of mid-level artifact. But his real level has only reached the demigod level. Although he is not far from the quasi-god, there is still a certain distance. Your power is not pure. It is not the power of Asura. Asura seemed to have discovered this secret, and he couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Could it be that your own attributes are the same as mine? Is it the dual attributes of undead and darkness? No. At the beginning, the power you used was obviously not of this attribute. That kind of power contains everything and seems very vast. Chapter 685. Powerful characteristics. Damn, what kind of power is that? Asura's eyes were full of confusion. I said that the power used is not something you can guess. In that case, you can die. At this moment, Asura wanted to win in terms of strength. The Asura ki filled the sky, carrying Asura's endless momentum. Asura held the Asura demon knife and wanted to kill Ji Yunfan directly. But Ji Yunfan drew a tortuous trajectory, just like a tortuous eagle, and killed in front of Asura in a flash. I want to see how strong your flesh is, and how magical your power is. Asura's face showed a ferocious god. The Asura demon knife in his hand was swung, and it turned into a black lightning, cutting directly towards Ji Yunfan. At the same time, the Asura chain was still hovering in the air, ready to tie up Ji Yunfan at any time. The remaining people in the Asura temple were completely stunned, and didn't even dare to breathe. None of them thought that this one-word king could resist Asura's attack and even have the upper hand. This Asura at the turning level had already used to artifacts, but he still couldn't do anything to Ji Yunfan. Could it be that this so-called one-word king in the mortal world has far exceeded the realm of quasi-gods? No. I feel that this guy's almost as strong as me. Some demigod level strong men in the Asura temple couldn't believe what they saw. How could the one-word king be so fast? Even my eyes can't catch him. Ji Yunfan's speed is too fast. If I fight him, I'm afraid I will be defeated in just one round. There was an unbelievable look in the eyes of the demigods. It's incredible. Moreover, he is not very old and is much stronger than those in the hidden world. A genius like a demon. If it weren't for the seal of this world, I'm afraid he would have become a god now. Lord Asura, you must win. Otherwise, if he captures us, the reputation of our Asura temple will be ruined. We must win. Everyone in the Asura temple was silently hoping, because if Asura lost, they would not be able to escape no matter what. King Yeezy Bing Xiang must win. On the other side, people in the imperial capital were also making wishes. The one-word king you appointed is truly extraordinary. He can fight on par with the quasi-god Asura on the quasi-god list. The old emperor observed the battle through the underworld array and said to his son, Asura has two artifact level weapons, both of which are extremely powerful, but the one-word king's speed and physical body are incredibly powerful. Do you think he can defeat Asura if we give him our royal artifacts? Everyone was watching the battle with bated breath. But the old emperor's words made Aval's father's eyes light up, but he soon shook his head. Even you, father, can't use that artifact. How can he use it? That artifact was actually obtained by our ancestors by accident. Nervous. This battle is a crucial battle. The two powerful artifacts were of little use to Ji Yunfan. Asura was already somewhat confused at this moment. Asura domain, Asura hunting ground. 3 black gates appeared out of thin air around him, each of which was glowing with black light. These 3 gates and Azura formed a horn. You have a domain, don't I have one? Perfect world Azura domain Azura hunting ground. What? Azura, who was displaying his powerful domain, was surprised to see the domain position that appeared in front of him. Yunfan's domain was exactly the same as his domain. Is your domain characteristic imitation? What are my attribute characteristics? You need to guess. I guess your sister. Azura's mentality had collapsed. He had never met such a difficult guy like Yunfan. In fact, Azura had already guessed that the second characteristic of Yunfan's domain was imitation, which could imitate all the domains in the world. Yunfan took out a long sword from the space ring and shuttled quickly in the air. In the blink of an eye, he had hit Azura 4 or 5 times. Azura was thrown away by the shock. Azura involuntarily unfolded the energy behind him, and the energy wings behind him shook violently and even drew an arc to avoid it. How could this happen? At this moment, Azura's face changed, and he looked at Yunfan in the distance and muttered to himself, "Damn bastard. If you have the ability, don't use such despicable means and fight me openly." Azura couldn't help but roar. The opponent's speed was too fast, so fast that he couldn't resist. Why should I use my shortcomings to fight against your strengths? Are you stupid? Yunfan curled his lips and said sarcastically, otherwise, you should give up the use of the 2 artifacts first, and then say such a dignified word to me. You must know that Azura's 2 artifact level weapons are very disgusting. Fortunately, his physical body is strong. Otherwise, if it were anyone else, I'm afraid they would be crushed to death by these 2 artifacts. The battle between the 2 gradually entered a white-hot state. Ha 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 ha, are you stupid? Ha ha ha. Many people in the imperial capital also laughed. Everyone helped together and limit his speed, leaving him no way to escape. Only in this way can I create an opportunity and let me kill him with one blow. Azura suddenly said to the other people in the Azura temple around him. He has no other way now. Although the artifact he holds is powerful, it must hit the target first. If everyone present attacks you, it will just restrain your speed. Azura said with a sneer. Fighting with different opponents should use different means. Azura usually fights with demigods or quasi-gods. Generally, he will not cooperate with others. He uses the 2 artifacts given to him by our Azura god to force a breakthrough. But for Yunfan, if these artifacts cannot hit him, they will be useless. The eyes of the other people in the Ashura temple lit up. They all felt that what Ashura said made sense, but they had no idea how strong Yunfan's body was. Even if Yunfan stood there and let them attack him with all their might, they probably wouldn't be able to cause much damage. Yunfan could just ignore their attacks. In fact, the only things that could really threaten him were the 2 artifacts of Ashura. Chapter 686, Killing Ashura. Almost all the people in the Azura temple took action, using their best long-range attack skills, to attack Yunfan frantically. Seeing the attacks flying towards him, Yunfan's face changed slightly. Although these attacks were just tickling for him, he didn't want to bear them for no reason. Yunfan used the wings of energy to try his best to distance himself. At the same time, several black stars appeared out of thin air around Yunfan. Since you want to outnumber the weak, I will play with you and see who will win in the end. Yunfan also had a ferocious look on his face. He expanded his perfect domain again, as if everything was under his control. Yunfan's body rushed towards Azura like a meteor. Block. Azura in the distance had already made preparations. With a thought, the Azura demon knife in his hand instantly changed direction. Oh. At this moment, Yunfan suddenly stopped. It seems to be quite powerful. Yunfan smiled coldly and took it directly. All the attacks from the other people in the Azura temple hit him, but he didn't even frown. Yunfan looked at Azura in the distance and smiled gently. If it was in the past, I might be defeated by your tricks, but now you can't even break my physical defense. You are all dead now. Yunfan smiled confidently. Kill. The Azura domain that was originally around him instantly expanded, and many people were directly killed by the Azura aura simulated by Yunfan. Azura demon knife. Kill. A sharp light flashed in Azura's eyes. He couldn't tolerate it anyway. Ji Yunfan actually used a power similar to his to kill his fellow disciples. This had already touched his bottom line. Boom. Suddenly, 16 magic knives appeared around him, and these 16 magic knives instantly became a huge arc, as if they were in an orderly array, and all the tips of the knives were pointing at Ji Yunfan. The whole world seemed to be trembling in this solemn atmosphere. The Azura domain simulated by Ji Yunfan transformed into a black lotus, and the petals of the lotus stood up and bloomed layer by layer. The 16 illusory magic swords surrounded the real magic sword and echoed it from a distance. Then the 16 magic swords slashed directly at Ji Yunfan from different directions. Azura was getting more and more frightened at this moment. He couldn't figure out where Ji Yunfan learned this tricky skill. Ping ping pang clang. With a series of sounds, Ji Yunfan directly used his body as a weapon. For a while, a colorful light curtain condensed by the power of the world appeared around him. No matter how many magic swords were besieged, they did not cause any damage to him. Damn it, what on earth is this thing? Even an ordinary artifact can't do this. A world power passed through Azura's arm, and blood splattered. Swish. Ji Yunfan held the magic sword and slashed Azura's belly. Lord Azura, you must be careful. Everyone in the Azura temple was shocked and reminded loudly. Lord Azura, let's retreat. No. Azura was unwilling. He was really unwilling. Lord Azura, if we continue like this, we will all lose. Don't fight, let's leave here quickly. The people in the Azura temple had been beaten and timid. Several demigod level faces did not have the dignity of being a half body, and there was anxiety and fear in their voices. Azura gritted his teeth and ignored the words of other people in the Azura temple. He felt that he had never been humiliated like this. He didn't want his undefeated record to end like this. He was a very selfish person. He could ignore the life and death of others, but he couldn't lose his dignity. He didn't want to admit defeat like this, or lose to a mortal king. He, Azura, was a child of destiny. The old emperor in the distance looked at him with a changed expression. These two people are really too strong. If anyone dares to retreat, don't blame me for being ruthless. Azura said viciously. At this time, the remaining people in the Azura temple had to start fighting desperately. Ji Yunfan's power was too strong, and the pressure he brought was too great. Even if they fought desperately, it might not be effective, but they had to do it. If Azura died here, even if they returned to the Azura temple, they would be punished inhumanely. Who made Azura's identity not simple? Kill. Ji Yunfan, who was resisting the attacks of everyone, suddenly had a sharp light in his eyes. Suddenly, 16 Azura magic knives appeared in front of him, exuding a sharp breath. Do unto others in their own way. Ji Yunfan finally showed the third special effect of the perfect field. Whoosh. The 16 illusory Azura magic knives instantly broke through the air and flew away. You should also try your own moves. Ji Yunfan showed a sarcastic smile on his face. He really looked down on Azura, a selfish guy. Feeling that the Azura's demonic blade condensed by Ji Yunfan was almost the same as his own Azura's demonic blade, his heart had completely collapsed, and he was like crazy. Kill him. There was desire and fear in Azura's eyes. It was a fear deep in his heart. When the people in the Azura temple around him were killed one by one, Azura knew he might fail. The biggest reliance for fighting with the opponent was probably the two artifacts in his hands. But now he couldn't hit the opponent. How could he win? Was he going to fail? If he failed and was caught by the people of the mortal world, how could he face others when he returned to the Azura temple? What qualifications did he, Azura, have to inherit the throne of the Azura god? Everyone knows that Azura is the illegitimate son of the god of Azura, but no one knows that the god of Azura once promised him that once he was deified, the god of Azura would grant him the Azura priesthood and make him the new master of the kingdom of Azura. Die, die, die. Azura's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He must fight. The last fight. Wisps of Azura's divine power turned into a magic knife and swept towards Ji Yunfan. Ji Yunfan stood there and sneered. You really don't give up. Do you really think you are the god of Azura? A sword formation like a black lotus was suspended around Ji Yunfan. The black Azura chains were circled around Azura. He was no longer going to use the chains to bind Ji Yunfan. He wanted to use the chains for defense. Chapter 687 The Name of the Killing God. He was ready to burn his boats. Bang, bang, bang. The Ashura chain trembled and moved, smashing the Ashura demon knife that Yunfan had conjured up. The power of this artifact was indeed not to be underestimated. It could easily smash the Ashura demon knife simulated by the power of the world. Go. The last remaining Ashura key drew an arc and actually attacked Yunfan's chest again. I can definitely kill him. I can definitely get him. Ashura's eyes were full of madness. Die. No one expected that Yunfan would actually use a move of catching a blade with bare hands, directly snatching the Ashura demon knife from Ashura's hand, and with a backhand chop, Ashura was actually split in half alive. The members of other temples saw this scene from afar, and their faces turned pale with fear. The high and mighty quasi-god actually died under their noses. An invasion from a hidden force ended just like that. Everyone remembered a name, Dante, the guy who killed gods against the will of heaven. From then on, he replaced Ashura in the ranking of quasi-gods. 5th place. This is the first master on the quasi-gods list to fall in the past 100 years. Many people regard Yunfan as a thorn in their eyes, including the guy who destroyed the clan. Now he can be said to be surrounded by enemies, but no one dares to provoke him easily. The name Killing God came from this beheading. Yunfan was a little amused and helpless about this name. The old emperor took this opportunity to integrate all the noble forces. The situation on the continent was very chaotic, and he did not want to take the opportunity to invade the 4 directions, because they all knew very well that Yunfan would never open up territory for them. If they caused trouble, Yunfan would be unlikely to stand up for them. At that time, they would definitely lose both the wife and the army. In fact, it was not just the Nigel Empire. Similar things happened to some other empires and kingdoms, but their royal families were not so lucky. Many people began to expand their power after they gained power, wanting to become the king of the entire continent. Yunfan didn't care about this at all. He guarded his 1/3 acre of land and madly developed technology. The magic crystal cannon has been developed to the 3rd generation, and even the magic crystal airship has been developed. The knowledge spread by Yunfan is like a seed, and some new magic technologies are applied. The magic pistol that ordinary people can use has become popular among the people, and almost everyone in his fiefdom is a soldier. So this is the power of technology you are talking about. Avril couldn't help but sigh. After making all the arrangements in the fiefdom, Yunfan took Winnie and Avril to the Aegean ruins. The Aegean ruins are the Aegean Sea region. The Aegean Sea was once a divine artifact of a god. Later, because he lost his lover, he turned his miracle into the Aegean Sea and guarded it forever. Legend has it that the god is still alive today, a living god. It's really interesting. Yunfan became more and more curious about the gods on the continent. Is it really like the legend, just to protect his lover? Yunfan felt that it was definitely not. What was the reason? He thought that this trip to the Aegean Sea would reveal the secret. What's going on? Why are there so many more people coming to the Aegean Sea than before? Winnie frowned slightly. You don't know yet? Something new has happened in the Aegean Sea ruins. At this time, an adventurer heard Winnie's self-talk and explained. Something new has happened? Yes, it is said that there is an adventure team. In order to escape a high-level magic beast, they hid in the Aegean Sea. Who knows that there is another world in the Aegean Sea? There is a magic circle for space transmission. Everyone came for this, but so far no one who was teleported and has returned, and no one knows where the magic circle is teleported to. The man wanted to show off in front of the beauty and happily told everything he knew. I really didn't expect that the Aegean Sea ruins would have such a change. I don't know if Amy was teleported to other places through the teleportation array. Avril said in a deep voice. Find someone who knows the situation and ask. Yunfan said. It seems that this is the only way for now. Girls, do you have any questions? If so, you can tell me. I might be able to help you. The guy who showed off in front of Winnie had a strange light in his eyes and continued. We are here to find someone. So have you heard of a girl named Amy? Avril said. Is the girl you are talking about called Amy? The guy who showed off was slightly stunned and then said with some surprise. How come you have really seen Amy? The other party's expression did not seem to be lying. Yunfan asked. Didn't I tell you at the beginning? A team of adventurers entered the Aegean Sea while escaping from a high-level monster, and one of the members of that adventurer team was called Amy. The man said. Yunfan couldn't help but be a little surprised and asked, "What a coincidence? But how did they offend the high-level magic beast?" The man looked around carefully before saying, "I tell you, don't tell anyone else. That team of adventurers was framed because they offended someone they shouldn't have offended." Yunfan and others' faces immediately sank. "Brother, do you know who they offended?" "Of course I know. In fact, it's not a secret among us adventurers. Lancelot Lambert, the son of the king of adventurers, fell in love with the girl named Amy, but the girl seemed unwilling. Later, Lancelot Lambert sent someone to steal a high-level magic beast's egg, deliberately smashed the egg, and threw it on the members of Amy's team. The high-level magic beast thought that this adventure team stole his child, so he went to chase the team. No one thought that this adventure team would actually trigger the teleportation array that no one had discovered for thousands of years." The man couldn't help but sighed. Lancelot Lambert. Winnie gritted her teeth and said the name, then asked the man, "Brother, do you know where Lancelot Lambert is now?" "Little girl, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. Lancelot Lambert is the son of the king of adventure. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 688, Pitfalls. The king of adventure has only this one son, but he is very precious to him. If you offend him, you will never have a good life. The king of adventure, Galsworthy Lambert. If he dares to stop me, I will make him live a life worse than death," Winnie said with a cold light in her eyes. The man was frightened by the murderous aura emanating from Winnie. "Girl, don't be impulsive." Yunfan also showed a sinister smile on his face. "The son of the king of adventure, right? How dare you bully Amy?" Yunfan had already secretly agreed to spend his life with Amy a few years ago. Now someone is bullying the woman he has decided on. This is simply intolerable. I say, little brother, you must be rational. You know that the king of adventure is the strongest on the continent. That kind of person can crush us with just a flick of his finger. He is just a demigod, an old guy who will never reach the level of a quasi-god in his life. Who gave him the title of the strongest on the continent?" Winnie said with a sneer at the corner of her mouth. The man was frightened by Winnie's words, and cold sweat broke out on his head. What are the identities of these little ancestors? Why are they talking more fiercely than each other? Yunfan knew Winnie's strength very well. With the special attributes of her domain, she is almost invincible under the quasi-god. Yunfan cast his eyes on the man again. "By the way, brother, you haven't told us where Galsworthy Lambert and Lancelot Lambert are now?" The man hesitated for a moment and said, "They are now stationed near the Aegean Sea and seem to be waiting for someone." "Little brother, you must not say that I told them." The man just figured it out now. The group of people in front of him are definitely related to the girl named Amy, and the relationship is probably extraordinary. From the tone of their talk about the king of adventure, it seems that they don't take the king of adventure seriously. These people are not people he can provoke, so he simply tells them what the other party wants to know. Yunfan and the others nodded indifferently. "Don't worry, we won't spread what you said." The man was now very curious about Yunfan's identity. "Can this little brother tell me who you are?" "My name is Dante, or you can call me Yunfan." "Dante, Yunfan. I seem to have heard of this name somewhere." Dante, the king of one word shoulder to shoulder. An adventurer next to the man suddenly exclaimed, "What? You are the god of killing?" The man was obviously shocked after hearing his companion's words. "Killing god? What the hell is this?" Yunfan couldn't help but ask curiously. "My lord, don't you know yet? Since you solved the problem of the Nurgle Empire, the deeds of beheading gods have been spread. Now everyone in the continent knows that you, my lord, are the real strongest man in the continent." The man hurriedly said, "I just killed a quasi-god, not a real god." Yunfan explained with a wry smile. He didn't want to be called the god of killing. Who knows if there are still high-level gods hidden on the continent. Yunfan doesn't think he is invincible now. If this name gets to the ears of those gods, it will probably cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. Quasi-gods are also gods. Ordinary people on the continent can't tell the difference between gods and quasi-gods and demigods. Dante, your title is really amazing. It's even more amazing than my grandfather's title of the God of War, Avril said with some admiration in her eyes. Yunfan sighed slightly. There are some things you don't know at all. This title may bring me a lot of unnecessary trouble in the future. He who has comprehended the law of fate can sense good and bad luck, even if he doesn't enter the long river of fate. Winnie frowned slightly and said, Dante, you are right. This title may bring him unnecessary trouble. Avril was aroused by Winnie's interest. Sister Winnie, can you tell me what is going on? I think you should know, and already know that there are many hidden forces on the continent, right? Winnie sighed and said, yes, those people seem to appear out of thin air, but each of them is so powerful, it is simply incredible. They all come from other small worlds or kingdoms of God, and are not on the main road at all. Although gods are not common in other small worlds or kingdoms of God, they cannot be said to be non-existent. If the world seal of this world disappears, the gods in the small world or the gods in the kingdom of God come out. When they hear the title of God of Killing, what do you think their reaction will be? Winnie explained. This title is a pit. Avril couldn't help but worry about Yunfan. All these things are mixed, right? Once the title of God of Killing is known, with enough faith, you can form the God of Killing God and become a real god. Of course, the premise is that the world's forbidden barrier of this world has been unlocked. Winnie said. Winnie didn't know that the world crystal of this world was on Yunfan's body, and he could unlock the forbidden barrier of this world at any time. Sister Winnie, what is the forbidden barrier of this world you are talking about? You will understand these things later. Winnie was not ready to continue. Yunfan said, let's go to Amy for revenge first, and after we get rid of that guy, we will go to see what this teleportation array is all about. Watching Yunfan and the others heading towards the Aegean Sea, this talkative adventurer felt very uneasy in his heart. He regretted it now. He shouldn't pretend to know a lot here. If the King of Adventure knew about it, he would definitely die a miserable death. No, he absolutely couldn't stay here any longer. He packed up and left the Aegean Sea ruins, as if he was escaping for his life. The three people were not slow, and soon came to the vicinity of the Aegean Sea, which was now full of people. Excuse me, do you know where Galsworthy Lambert and Lancelot Lambert are? The man being asked was obviously on guard. Why are you looking for them? Yunfan said calmly, we are looking for them to collect a debt. Looking for them to collect a debt. The man was obviously stunned after hearing Yunfan's answer. What do you mean? Yunfan said bluntly, it means exactly what it says. We are here to cause trouble for them. Chapter 689 Looking for trouble. No way, little brother, you are actually going to cause trouble for the King of Adventure? The man obviously still couldn't believe it. Who wants to cause trouble for me? At this moment, a frivolous voice suddenly sounded from behind Yunfan. The man who was talking to Yunfan changed his face, turned around quickly, and apologized to the man. Lancelot, I didn't say anything bad about you. A man in gorgeous clothes came over from not far away, looking at Winnie and Avril with lustful eyes. Girls, are you the ones who came to see me? Damn bastard, if you dare to look at me like this again, I will definitely dig out your eyes. Avril was a little scared by the other party's look, and couldn't help but said viciously, girl, it's the first time someone talks to me like this, but I like it. The man said with a wicked smile. Sister Winnie, this guy's teasing me. Avril shook Winnie's arm and said coquettishly, oh, this is a big beauty. The man looked at Winnie with shining eyes. Seeing this situation, Yunfan couldn't help shaking his head. You really don't know how to live or die. Winnie also smiled brightly. Little brother, am I beautiful? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Then how about I want your life? Take it, take it. The man shouted excitedly. Okay, then I'll take it. Winnie said and took out a dagger from somewhere and instantly cut the other's neck. You. The man stared in disbelief. He couldn't believe until his death that the other party really wanted to kill him, and without any hesitation. Dead. Lancelot is dead, killed directly. I don't know who suddenly shouted. Who killed my son? A violent voice came from a distance, and then a burly man came from not far away, with a terrifying murderous aura. "It's you?" The man stared at Winnie with his eyes wide open. "Yes, it's me." Winnie smiled charmingly. "I want you to die. You die." The man roared. Winnie smiled lightly, then made a flower with the dagger in her hand, and then stabbed in an instant. The man didn't care much at first, but when the purple lightning-like dagger stabbed at him, the man's face suddenly changed, and a huge axe appeared in his hand. Dang. With a sound, Winnie took a step back slightly, but the man retreated 3 or 4 steps away. The man's face changed instantly. "Who are you? How can you be so strong?" "Am I strong? It's just that you are too weak." Although assassination is Winnie's job as an assassin, when she can suppress the opponent with her strength, she still likes to solve the opponent openly. Purple lightning flash. Winnie flew up again, like a ghost. Dang, dang, dang. The sound of collision came one after another. Winnie took advantage of the situation, and approached the man step by step. The king of adventure, Galsworthy Lambert, was suppressed so easily. How could this be? Many onlookers couldn't believe their eyes. Adventure Field Night Duel. The man was beaten without any power to fight back, and couldn't help but expand his own field. This adventure field is actually a variant of the Earth field. Its function is to create obstacles for the enemy to stop their attacks. It is an extremely annoying auxiliary field. Although this field is lacking in attack, it can gain advantages for the owner. At this age and this appearance, you are Winnie, the king of killers. Winnie. Haven't you already quit the Killer Association? Have you retired from the game? The field unfolded. Galsworthy Lambert finally got a chance to breathe. Only then did he see the other party's identity and asked loudly, "Why did you kill my son? Your son forced my sister into the teleportation array. Why do you say I should kill him?" Winnie's eyes flashed with coldness. "Your sister?" Galsworthy Lambert was slightly stunned, and asked uncertainly, "The one called Amy is your sister? Even if it is your sister, you shouldn't have killed my son." Lancelot Lambert. Yunfan heard this, and showed a sneer on his face. "I finally know why your son is so arrogant. It is true that there is a father-like son. Winnie killed him, and his death is not unfair at all. Who are you, you bastard? Do you know that you will die if you talk nonsense?" Galsworthy Lambert believed that, although he was not Winnie's opponent, he would not be worried about his life for a while. He now had the intention of retreating. He was ready to wait for an opportunity, gather some masters, and then seek revenge on Winnie. Being ridiculed by this young man who looked young, his already irritable mood became even more irritable. "Oh uncle, I'm so scared. Can you come and kill me quickly?" Yunfan had a wicked smile on his face. Even Winnie was not his opponent, let alone this guy who was not even Winnie's opponent. "You are a bastard. I will spare you this time. Wait for the next chance." Galsworthy Lambert threatened, while fighting and retreating. The smile on Yunfan's face suddenly disappeared. There will be no next time. He took out the Azure Demon knife, and slashed at Galsworthy Lambert. Galsworthy Lambert seemed to feel the power of the knife and quickly raised the giant axe in his hand to resist. Who knew that after his giant axe collided with the black knife, it was directly cut in half? How is it possible? Exclamation mark. My war giant is a semi-artifact. How could it be cut off so easily? Galsworthy Lambert's face suddenly changed. You know, the reason why he was able to gain his current reputation among the demigods was closely related to the axe he found in a ruin. Now that the huge battle axe was destroyed, the strength he could exert was only 50% of the original. This kind of power was okay for ordinary saint level strongman, but if he met a demigod level master who was originally on par with him, he would only be suppressed and beaten. It turned out to be a semi-artifact. But the knife in my hand is an artifact, and it has an indestructible attribute. All weapons below the lower artifacts are vulnerable. Yunfan said in a flat tone. Who are you? How could you have an artifact to defend yourself? Galsworthy Lambert asked hysterically. Yunfan. This tongue-twisting name, I seem to have heard of it somewhere. You are Dante, the king of the empire. Galsworthy Lambert frowned slightly at first, and then seemed to think of something, and his eyes were full of fear. Chapter 690 Speculation. God of Killing. This young man is actually the legendary God of Killing. the legendary god of killing, is full of murderous aura, and he can even kill gods. Hearing everyone's discussion, Yunfan couldn't help but feel a little depressed again. It seemed that, no matter where he went, his name as the god of killing would be confirmed. Just as Winnie said, he now felt more power of faith, and he was only one step away from becoming a quasi-god. He vaguely felt that he seemed to be on a strange path to becoming a god. Technology was originally materialism, and the appearance of gods was idealism. While he spread the technology on the earth, he became the enlightener of technology. Many people in his territory called him the god of technology. Technology seems to contain the power of origin, but it is not pure power of origin. This is the extremely contradictory point. When he condenses the godhood in the future, what kind of godhood will he condense? The pure origin road is not easy to walk in this world. How can those high and mighty gods allow others to blaspheme the power they think belongs to them? If you want to become a god, you must challenge the original origin god and obtain the godhood from the original god. He didn't know that his path would definitely create a new system of gods in the future. Any god can take the path of science and technology, which is equivalent to being enemies with all the gods and robbing their faith, but all of this is a later story. Yunfan was in a dominant position and did not spare others. The Azure demon knife in his hand, like a dancing elf, chopped at Galsworthy Lambert again and again. What made Galsworthy Lambert most helpless was that his domain seemed to have no effect on Yunfan. Of course, Galsworthy Lambert didn't know that his domain had been completely replaced. Yunfan has gradually taken control of the other party's domain, and he is even more like a fish in water when fighting. Galsworthy Lambert's situation is indeed exactly the opposite of him, as if he was prevented from exerting his power by some force. In a flash, he realized that when other people fought him, they also behaved like him, because they were bound by the characteristics of the earth element. Damn, is your domain also an extension of the earth element domain? Galsworthy Lambert's face was pale, and he couldn't imagine it. What do you think? Yunfan asked, while attacking with the Azure demon sword. You. Galsworthy Lambert had never met such a guy who didn't play by the rules. You are yes or no? How can you guess? Yunfan felt that he had completely controlled the other party's domain and couldn't help shaking his head. I've had enough fun, so let's end it. As he said that, his speed increased to another level. The Azure demon knife flashed through the void like lightning and directly hit Galsworthy Lambert's chest. Galsworthy Lambert fell more than 10 meters away and fell to the ground. He looked at Yunfan in disbelief and spit out a mouthful of blood and said, "How can you be so strong? I'm a man who is known as the #1 man on the continent." You are the one who calls yourself the #1 man on the continent. Yunfan curled his lips. There are so many masters at the level of gods on the continent. The hidden forces even made a list of quasi-gods. You, a demigod level strongman, are also ashamed to call yourself the #1 man on the continent? I really don't know where your confidence comes from. This is simply, when there is no tiger in the mountain, the monkey will be the king. Don't kill me, I can be your servant. Galsworthy Lambert felt Yunfan's murderous intention and hurriedly said loudly, I don't have the habit of leaving troubles behind, so I'm sorry. Yunfan shook his head gently, and the Azure demon knife in his hand slashed across, cutting off the opponent's head in one fell swoop. Galsworthy Lambert's only biological son was killed by them. He wanted to fight them as soon as he came out. Now, in order to survive, he actually wants to be his servant. If he surrenders like this, he might stab him in the back at any time. The king of adventure Galsworthy Lambert was killed just like that. The crowd watching the excitement was stunned. The first person in the secular world died just like that. This man is indeed worthy of being a killing god. Yunfan didn't care about other people's opinions at all. He was now thinking about how to find Amy. So Yunfan took Avril and Winnie down to the depths of the Aegean Sea, where there were dilapidated buildings everywhere. It seems that this was once an underwater city. Yunfan murmured. The Aegean civilization is said to be a branch of the sea god. Winnie said, I just didn't expect that there is such a world in the depths of the Aegean Sea. As they continued to dive down, Yunfan and the others were surprised that they could breathe freely in the water. The depths of the Aegean Sea are indeed mysterious. Ji Yunfan took a deep breath. If I'm not mistaken, this so-called EGNC may have once been the kingdom of a certain god. The god set rules that allow creatures to breathe normally. Winnie said after a moment of silence. Ji Yunfan was slightly stunned. Has this place survived to this day by relying on the rules of the gods? How long has the so-called gods been away from here? How many years has it been since the mainland has seen a real living god? How powerful were the gods of the EGNC? Ji Yunfan had questions in his mind one after another. Ji Yunfan could not help but show his perfect world domain. At this moment, he felt the change of the meaning of the entire EGNC. This feeling was somewhat similar to when he replaced the domains of other demigods and quasi-gods, but it was more mysterious and difficult to figure out. This time, Ji Yunfan could be sure that this place was indeed transformed by gods using the power of rules. Although his perfect domain could be invaded, it could not change it at all. Obviously, the god's use of the power of rules was quite advanced, far exceeding Ji Yunfan at this time. I'm afraid that a very high-level god once lived here in the EGNC. Ji Yunfan related his own situation and stated his conclusion. Very high. Sakuden was a little curious about how high the high-level gods Ji Yunfan mentioned were. Much stronger than the so-called middle-level gods or even upper-level gods. Ji Yunfan said. How is it possible? The 12 main gods have never heard of leaving the continent of gods. Sakuden said in disbelief. Are you saying that there have been gods here? Chapter 691 Dialogue. Maybe it will be higher. Ji Yunfan replied calmly. Huh? Who told you that there are only 12 main gods? Ji Yunfan showed a mocking smile on his face. This has always been the consensus of the continent. Sakuden was slightly stunned. What consensus of the continent? It's just what the 12 of them want others to believe. Ji Yunfan said in a calm tone. The more he experienced, the more he felt that the so-called consensus of the continent was just a lie, just to maintain their absolute rule. Even the god of creation is just a realm. In ancient times, there were many gods who could create the world. Each of them had the strength of the god of creation. After Ji Yunfan entered the kingdom of god of the world tree, Sakuden had been in a deep sleep. So many things that Ji Yunfan experienced, Sakuden didn't know. Ji Yunfan, some things we can talk about privately. You must not tell others, otherwise you will become a blasphemer. Sakuden suddenly said seriously. Sakuden, do you believe it? I have a feeling. In the future, I will definitely face the 12 main gods. Ji Yunfan said. I really don't know whether it is good or bad to follow you. Sakuden said with a bitter smile. From time to time, some strange marine creatures appear on the bottom of the EGNC, but most of them will not attack wantonly, but this is also under the premise of not provoking them. Ji Yunfan, Avril, and Winnie quickly came to the location of the teleportation array. The entire teleportation array looks very simple and seems to have experienced a long time. For Ji Yunfan, who is proficient in space magic, he can barely see the doorway of this teleportation array. Ji Yunfan couldn't help but frowned. This is a single channel teleportation array, which can be teleported to a designated location, but can't be teleported back again. And this teleportation array is very different from ordinary teleportation arrays. It is much more complicated than ordinary teleportation arrays. According to my calculations, this teleportation array will either teleport to other small worlds, or to the kingdom of a certain god. If it is a small world, it's better. If it is teleported to the kingdom of a certain god, then life and death must be controlled by the master of that kingdom, unless the strength of the intruder far exceeds that of the master of the kingdom. Winnie's face became very ugly. As someone who had been in the kingdom of the god of assassins, she knew more about the power of the gods in the kingdom than others, just like the master. Sister Winnie, is there no other way? Avril lost tangled. Unless it is the lord of another kingdom of god, who can directly enter his kingdom of god. Winnie sighed slightly. I will definitely activate this teleportation array anyway, so you don't have to go. Ji Yunfan frowned slightly, looked at the two women, and then said in a very low voice, can I completely trust you? Winnie was slightly stunned. At this time, Ji Yunfan would say such a thing, which must mean that he wanted to tell some secret of his own, and this secret might be related to the teleportation array. I, Winnie, swear in the name of the god of creation. If I reveal Dante's secret privately, I will suffer the pain of extinction and will never be reincarnated. Winnie swore directly. Avril saw Winnie's actions, hesitated slightly, and swore, I, Avril, swear in the name of the god of creation. If I reveal Dante's secret privately, I will suffer the pain of extinction and will never be reincarnated. In that case, I will take you to a place, and you don't resist. Yunfan said, pulling the two people up and directly entering the Dragon Ball world. The two came to the new environment and looked around curiously. What is this place? Yunfan said lightly, it is a small world that belongs to me completely. I'm the master of this small world. You actually already have a small world? Winnie's eyes widened in disbelief. You will live in this small world for a while. Yunfan continued, I will go there to find out the situation first. Even if it is a kingdom of a certain god, I can escape unscathed. If there is no danger, I will release you. This should be the best choice. Winnie thought for a moment. Yunfan gently drew a line in the void, and he appeared next to the EGNC teleportation array again. He slowly injected his world power into the teleportation array. A blue light flashed, and Yunfan was teleported away directly. For him who is proficient in the power of space, it is too simple to remember a space coordinate. Yunfan was teleported directly to a ruined place. The surrounding buildings were decayed under the erosion of time. Yunfan unfolded his perfect domain. Everything around him seemed ordinary. The only difference was that it seemed that the water element in this world was very abundant. It seems that there is no danger. Yunfan directly released Winnie and the others from the small world. He still knew very little about the kingdom of God. Winnie, is this the kingdom of God of a certain god? Yunfan asked. The kingdom of God is actually no different from an ordinary small world. You can only know it when the Lord of the Kingdom of God launches an attack. Winnie explained. Since there is no danger for the time being, you don't have to go back. Yunfan nodded slightly and said. Several people lingered in the ruins for a few days and found that they did not encounter any danger. They were bold and prepared to walk out of the ruins. Outside the ruins is a dense jungle. From time to time, you can see some strange creatures like prehistoric monsters in the jungle. These strange creatures are relatively huge. Compared with these huge creatures, Yunfan and his body size is like an ant. It feels like entering the prehistoric civilization of the earth. Yunfan muttered to himself. Earth, what is that place? Why have I never heard of it? Avril was extremely curious. Winnie couldn't help but be interested. That is a very far place. Maybe when I reach the realm of the creator god one day, I will be able to return there again. Yunfan sighed slightly. Since he set foot on the long river of destiny in this world, he knew many secrets of this world, but he had no information about the earth. The earth did not seem to belong to this world, but to this universe to be more precise. Chapter 692 Maze. If you want to escape from the shackles of this universe, you must reach the realm of the god of creation. The world created by the god of creation is not a plain world in the ordinary sense, but a universe containing countless planes. Yunfan's words made Avril and Winnie more and more curious. But Yunfan didn't want to continue this topic. This place is very strange. We have been here for so long, and the sky is still bright. Is there no night here? The three of them didn't know how long they had walked, and Yunfan suddenly spoke. If you didn't say it, I really didn't notice it. Could it be that we will never get out of this wasteland? This place has been deserted for a long time. Could it be that there is no one in this small world or the kingdom of God? Avril responded with a slight frown. If it is really a small world or the kingdom of God, unless it is completely deserted, I really don't know when it will end. If we keep walking like this, Avril has lost his patience at this moment. Yunfan frowned. Maybe we are going in the wrong direction. We have always felt that we are walking in a straight line. We are indeed walking in a straight line. Avril asked puzzledly. Yunfan pointed to a tall tree in front of him and said, don't you think this place is very familiar? It is indeed somewhat familiar. Have we been here at the beginning? Impossible. We have been walking in a straight line. Winnie was a little thoughtful at this moment. Yunfan said, how about we do an experiment? Do you want to do an experiment? Yunfan took out the Azura demon knife from the space ring and chopped down a tree not far away. See, I chopped down this tree. Do you need to tell me that? I'm not blind. Dad boy, he is getting more and more stupid. I really don't know if he will become stupid after being with him for a long time. Avril muttered softly. I just laughed. My Princess Avril, who gave you the courage to say such unreliable words? Yunfan was amused by Avril. Yunfan shook his head slightly and then said to Winnie, okay, let's keep going forward. Then he strode forward. It's so mysterious. Avril pouted slightly and then cast her eyes on Winnie beside her. Sister Winnie, what do you think Dante wants to do? You'll know in a while. Winnie seemed to have guessed a possibility, but she didn't say it clearly. Everyone is so mysterious, I really don't know what they are thinking. Out of curiosity, Avril had to follow Yunfan. He wanted to see what Yunfan was up to. The three of them walked for nearly half an hour, and Avril was a little impatient. Have you verified it by experiment? Of course it has been verified. Look over there. Yunfan pointed directly in the direction not far away, and saw that in the direction not far away, a big tree was lying there, which was the one that Yunfan cut down more than 20 minutes ago. This can't be the big tree you saw. But why is this tree here? Haven't we left it for a long time? The trees here don't grow naturally, Yunfan said. If they didn't grow naturally, could it be that someone planted them on purpose? Avril was a little confused. Yes, you are right this time. The tall trees here were planted by humans. Don't you find that the trees here are extremely regular? In fact, they are to guide our sight and create a wrong perception so that we mistakenly think that we are walking in a straight line, but in fact we are going around in circles. Yunfan said in a flat tone. Avril was obviously a little bit unbelievable. How is it possible? You don't believe it, right? I will prove it to you, and you will know. Yunfan said, while releasing a holy dragon from his Dragon Ball world. Master. The dragon greeted Yunfan immediately after seeing him. Take us for a distance. Yunfan said. The dragon landed on the ground. Yunfan took Winnie and Avril and sat on his back. Then the dragon flew up with its wings flickering. Yunfan pointed to the front and said, fly in this direction. As Yunfan expected, they were flying in the air without being disturbed by the trees. It took them only a short while to get out of the jungle. Is everything you said true? Avril still couldn't believe it. This is too amazing. There are many more amazing things. Haven't you learned some scientific knowledge from me? Yunfan frowned and thought, the structure here seems to have something to do with the 5-element and 8 diagrams. But how is this possible? Avril asked curiously, what are the 5-element and 8 diagrams? Even Winnie was very interested this time. Will there be people from Earth here? Or thoughts suddenly came to his mind. Theoretically, if it can come to this world, others can also come to this world. As a fellow from Earth, should I find this person first? What are you thinking about, kid? Why don't you answer me? I don't even know how to answer you. Yunfan pouted and ignored Avril. Not long after the three of them left the jungle, they met an old man wearing animal skins, looking very much like ancient humans. The old man was obviously stunned after seeing Yunfan and the other two, and then looked them up and down. Excuse me, old man, where is this place? Yunfan asked in the common language of the continent. To be honest, he was really afraid of language barriers. If that were the case, it would be a big trouble. Fortunately, what Yunfan was worried about did not happen. The old man understood Yunfan's words. This is the Kaza forest. Where are you from? It seems that your clothes are. The old man didn't know what language to use to describe Yunfan and the others' clothes. We come from a very far place. You didn't come through the teleportation array deep in the ruins? The old man seemed to have thought of something and couldn't help but open his eyes wide and look up and down at Yunfan and the others. Old man, do you know the teleportation array in the ruins? Yunfan and the other two looked at each other. Chapter 693 Teleportation. Of course I know about that teleportation array. Legend has it that our ancestors also came here through the teleportation array. The old man explained. Then you never left again? Yunfan asked curiously. Leave here? How to leave here? I think you should have discovered that the teleportation array is one way. It is basically impossible to leave here. Old man, where exactly is this place? This used to be the kingdom of the god of the sea. At this time, the old man extended an invitation. Since you have nowhere to go for the time being, why don't you come with me to the tribe? Yunfan was stunned for a moment, then nodded and said with a smile, "Thank you for the invitation, elder. We didn't know what to do because we were new here." While the old man was not paying attention, Winnie said to Yunfan, "I think there is something wrong with this guy." Yunfan nodded slightly. "Do you feel it too? You know, I was originally a killer, and I'm particularly sensitive to some opportunities." Yunfan said confidently, "We are unfamiliar with this world. Why not take this opportunity to see what this old guy is selling? I really don't believe that this old guy can make any big waves under our noses." Under the guidance of the old man, after more than an hour's journey, they finally arrived at the tribe the old man mentioned. The tribe where the old man was located was not a small tribe. There were thousands of people in the whole tribe. "Cladagupton, I have brought distinguished guests with me. You must take good care of them. They came from the teleportation array just like our ancestors," the old man said to a guy dressed as a leader. "They actually came from outside by teleportation array." After hearing the old man's words, the man called Cladagupton's eyes lit up and looked at Yunfan and others curiously. "Come here, bring the best Naragod fruit. I want to entertain the most distinguished guests." Cladagupton winked at the tribesmen around him. Yunfan and Winnie's eyes were full of confusion. What is this so-called Naragod fruit? Several people were led into a cave. According to Cladagupton, this cave was specially used to entertain guests. Cladagupton sat in the chief's exclusive seat. "Dear guest, could you tell us what the situation is on the other side of the teleportation array?" Yunfan organized his words a little and told him the situation in the EGNC. Cladagupton seemed a little unbelievable. "You mean the EGNC has become a ruin now? Why does the chief seem to be very familiar with the EGNC?" Yunfan asked. "Yes, our ancestors were members of the Aegean Empire back then." "How powerful was the Aegean Empire back then?" the chief of the tribe said with a complicated expression, as if he had personally experienced it. At this time, Yunfan had also secretly released 5 shadow demons. He wanted to see what the people in this tribe were going to do. "I didn't expect that someone would come to our tribe. It's just right to use their flesh and blood to sacrifice to our ancestors." In a room, "I heard that they are from that world. So what if they are from that world? They can't leave here anyway. After our ancestors are fully resurrected, can the kingdom of the sea god still trap us? To be honest, it's a waste to give our Naragod fruit to these people." Yunfan has begun to be interested in the so-called Naragod fruit. After getting to know these people again, the so-called Naragod fruit should be a good thing. I don't know why Yunfan always feels that there is something strange about it. The most important thing now is to figure out what the people in this tribe want to do. What kind of sacrifice is the so-called sacrifice? Could it be that they are used as sacrifices? At this time, a younger tribesman gave Yunfan a look. Yunfan wanted to see what the young man wanted to do, so he followed him and walked out of the cave. "If you don't mind, I have something to ask of you. I hope you can leave here quickly." Yunfan showed a puzzled look on his face. "Little brother, what do you mean by this? Don't you welcome us to your tribe? There are some things I can't mention to you. You just need to know that I won't harm you." The young man was silent for a moment and said, as if he had something to hide. Yunfan looked at the young man thoughtfully. "It seems that not all people in this tribe want them to be sacrifices." Yunfan smiled and said directly, "You know, we are from outside. I'm very curious about what secrets your tribe has. I advise you not to know. It will be good for all of us to leave here early." The young man frowned slightly, as if he did not expect Yunfan to say such a thing to him. Curiosity can easily kill people. "I have no other interests, only curiosity." Yunfan smiled slightly. "I know you are here to find someone, but you will never find it, so I advise you to leave here quickly." "Little brother, do you know something?" Yunfan's face changed slightly. From the other party's tone, the other party seemed to know something. "Tell me, where are the people who were originally teleported here? Leave here, okay? Don't ask too much about some things." The young man seemed to have something to hide, and he was vague when he spoke. Yunfan was indeed more and more curious about the secrets of this tribe. Lieutenant Clement, what are you talking about with our distinguished guests? At this time, the voice of the tribe leader suddenly came from outside. No, I was just chatting with our distinguished guest and asking what the outside world is like. The young man named Lieutenant Clement responded. What good would it do to know what the outside world is like? We can't leave here. The tribal chief looked a little depressed. What kind of secrets does this tribe have? Everyone looks so weird. What are they going to sacrifice? Dear guest, please forgive Lieutenant Clement's recklessness. It's just because we have stayed here for too long, and she is very curious about the outside world. Chapter 694, Lure the enemy into a trap. Yunfan looked up and down at the tribe leader, trying to see something from his face. However, there was no panic on his face, and he looked very natural. For a moment, Yunfan even had a feeling that the people of this tribe were simple and honest, and really treated them as distinguished guests. However, the news from Shadow Demon Soul proved that the entire tribe was not as simple as he imagined. What kind of secrets were hidden under their hypocritical appearance? Where was Amy? What kind of fruit is this Naragod fruit you are talking about, tribe leader? I'm really very curious. I have never heard of this name outside. Of course, not to mention outside, even here, it is only unique to our tribe. The tribe leader raised his head proudly. Since it is so precious, the tribe leader should not let us taste it and cherish it well. You are the most distinguished guests. It is the custom of the entire tribe to share good things with your distinguished guests. The leader of the tribe shook his head and said. At this time, the man named Lieutenant Clement had a look of sorrow on his face, which flashed by and was quickly hidden by him. Chief, I'm leaving first. My sister is waiting for me at home. Lieutenant Clement, please say hello to your sister for me when you see her. The young man named Lieutenant Clement smiled and nodded and said, no problem. Thank you for your concern, Chief. After Lieutenant Clement finished speaking, he walked away. Chief, it seems that you care about Lieutenant Clement very much. Yunfan could naturally see that the sincere feelings of the tribal chief for this young man were not fake. To be clear, this kid still calls me third uncle. His father and I used to be brothers, closer than brothers. Later, his father died in Rhinoceros Mountain to save me. I have been trying to make it up to him over the years. The tribal chief's eyes were a little vague. Yunfan felt that things were not as simple as the chief said. It was really a tribe that was hard to figure out. Whether it was the chief or the people in the tribe, they all seemed to have countless secrets. Dante, what did you do just now? Seeing Yunfan coming back, Avril asked curiously. I just went to the bathroom and met a very interesting guy. I chatted with him for a while. Yunfan said calmly while glancing at the chief. He found that the other party seemed to be eavesdropping on him and couldn't help but curl up the corners of his mouth slightly. At the same time, Yunfan had released his spiritual power and the perfect domain unfolded in an instant, wrapping Winnie and Avril in it. Then he used his spiritual power to communicate with the two people directly. The so-called Naragod fruit is definitely problematic. You must not eat it anyway. I will take them into the Dragon Ball world in a while. Avril was slightly stunned when she heard Yunfan's voice transmission, but she quickly reacted and muttered to herself, I have said that there is something wrong with this tribe, and you are still following that old man. However, this princess likes to do things to explore the truth the most. This princess wants to see what secrets are hidden in this tribe. At this time, a shadow demon released by Yunfan had followed the young man named Lieutenant Clement into a thatched house. There was a small bed in the corner of the thatched house, and a girl of about 16 or 17 was lying on the small bed. The girl was pale, as if she had been ill for a long time. The young man named Lieutenant Clement looked at the little girl lying on the bed with some heartache. Brother Lanlan is back. Brother, have you told the guests who came? Let them leave quickly. The little girl on the bed asked weakly. Yes, I have told the guest, but the guest doesn't seem to want to leave. He is here to look for the big sister who came some time ago. The little girl on the bed said faintly. That young man looks very ordinary. Do you think he will bring disaster to our tribe? The young man named Lieutenant Clement asked after a slight hesitation. When that big sister came some time ago, I told the clan leader uncle that that big sister is the savior of our entire tribe. But the clan leader uncle didn't believe it. He just believed that devil. The little girl on the bed said with a sad face, if it weren't for that devil, how could so many of our people die? I don't know what the devil has obsessed them. The ancestors asked us to stay here to keep an eye on the seal, but the clan leader uncle and his people actually believed the devil's words. If the devil is really released, his first target is probably our tribe. Sister, don't you need to be so pessimistic? Maybe the one who is sealed is really our ancestor. The young man named Clement said after a slight hesitation. Brother, don't you believe what I said? The little girl on the bed said faintly. It's not that I don't want to believe your words, sister, but your words are too shocking. And the tribe members have doubled their strength after eating the Nera god fruit. Doesn't this prove that it is a reward from the ancestors? The young man named Clement muttered softly. Brother, I have told you many times that it is not a divine fruit, it is a devil's fruit. After eating it, although you can gain power temporarily, that power definitely does not belong to the person who eats the fruit. One day, the devil will take back all his power. The little girl on the bed said excitedly, you must not resist the temptation to eat that fruit, otherwise you will eventually become a walking corpse. But what about the future of the tribe? Forget it, my power can no longer activate the prophecy. Yunfan transmitted all the conversations between the young man named Clement and his sister to his mind through the shadow demon. From their conversation, Yunfan already vaguely knew the function of the fruit. If he guessed correctly, it seemed that there was some great man sealed in this tribe, and in order to let the people in the tribe release him, this great man transferred his power to the people in the tribe through the Nera divine fruit. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695, Crazy. Over time, the tribesmen who had gained power thought that the demons were not sealed here, but their ancestors. It was ironic that their ancestors tried their best to seal the demons, but they wanted to release the demons for power, and even wanted to recognize the demons as their ancestors. This little girl is interesting. She can predict the future. Does that mean she has also comprehended the law of fate? If so, she can't be so weak. Yunfan couldn't help but frown slightly. Through the shadow demon, he sensed that the vitality of the little girl seemed to be almost exhausted. The power of fate is more mysterious than the power of space and time. What are you thinking about? You are actually in a daze here? Avril saw Yunfan standing there in a daze, and couldn't help but speak. Nothing. Yunfan didn't say much. Once he said it, the people in the tribe would be prepared, and maybe something unexpected would happen. You are so mysterious all day long. Do we really have to use the divine fruit to entertain them? Someone in the tribe objected. These people are not weak. Only with the help of the power of the ancestor can the sacrifice be completed better. When the ancestor comes out, how many divine fruits will there be? Said the person next to the man. Yunfan couldn't help shaking his head after hearing their discussion. These people have gone crazy. Did Amy and the others sacrifice the people of this tribe? Yunfan's face became very ugly. If so, Yunfan didn't dare to imagine it anymore. He was afraid that he couldn't help it and directly destroyed the tribe. The so-called Nera divine fruit was brought up on a plate by several people from the tribe. The black fruit, like a potato, made people feel very uncomfortable at first glance. Yunfan covered his perfect domain and found that the fruit exuded a strange breath, which felt like it was incompatible with the whole world. This power does not seem to come from this world or this universe. Yunfan involuntarily used the power of destiny to figure out what this power was. What he didn't expect was that what he saw in the eyes of destiny was a piece of chaos. Just when Yunfan was exploring the divine fruit suddenly reacted as if it had life, emitting a very strange spiritual fluctuation. Yunfan couldn't help but think of what the girl said, that this fruit was the power separated from the devil. If that was the case, then it would be easy to explain. But could this divine fruit still have the consciousness of the devil? If so, then it would be really troublesome. I'm afraid that many people in the entire tribe have eaten the divine fruit, and their consciousness has been covered by the consciousness of the devil fruit, or even assimilated. He even had a terrible speculation that the devil had released his clone from the seal. Once all the fruits that were revealed were completely integrated together, a terrible demon clone could be generated. Yunfan took advantage of the tribe's inattention and instantly threw the three people's divine fruits into his own Dragon Ball world. After entering the small world, the divine fruit seemed to come alive all of a sudden and instantly turned into a dark monster. Yunfan was startled by this sudden change. Huh? Who are you? The dark monster looked at Yunfan warily. How could he control an independent small world? Who are you? Human? Who told you I'm a human? I'm the immortal Lord of Eternity. Seeing that you still have some ability, I decided to take you in as my little brother. How about you obediently offer your little world and help me release my real body? I will give you eternal life. The dark monster said with a strange smile. He, Lord of Eternity, is so arrogant. There is no eternal existence in this world. If you are an eternal existence, why are you sealed here? Yunfan responded with a sneer. You are a humble human. What do you know? If it weren't for those guys using despicable means, how could I be sealed by them? The dark monster seemed to be, because Yunfan hit the pain point and couldn't help but roar loudly. Yunfan stretched out his hand directly, and a huge world force instantly spread towards the dark monster and instantly fixed the monster in midair. You are a humble human. What do you want to do? The dark monster, who had already felt his power being suppressed at this moment, asked loudly. I just want to see if you are an eternal being. Yunfan said, while controlling the power of the world, pulling the black monster, and the black monster was directly deformed by the pulling. You humble human. Stop it. Do you know what you are doing now? You are blaspheming the great Lord of Eternity. You will pay the price for what you have done. The dark monster threatened. Really? I won't cry until I see the coffin. Let me see what you can do. Yunfan sneered and continued to tear the black monster. Although the black monster's power is not strong, his ability to withstand it is indeed beyond that of ordinary quasi-gods. When he adjusted the tearing power to the power of the lower god, the dark monster seemed to be unable to withstand the tearing power and began to collapse faintly. Damn bastard, do you know what you are doing? The monster was shaking and roaring wildly, as if trying to break free from Yunfan's restraints. But how could Yunfan let the black monster go? And his power was increasing bit by bit. I'm going to ask you something now. You'd better answer it obediently. As long as your answer satisfies me, I will let you go. Yunfan suddenly said. Okay. Ask it. As long as I know, I will answer whatever you ask. The black monster answered without thinking. Where are you from? Yunfan said. The black monster replied coldly, I'm from the Eternal Land. The Eternal Land. I have never heard of the existence of this place before. Of course you haven't heard of it. With your level, you are not qualified to know. The black monster said very arrogantly. Yunfan sneered and increased the pulling force again. You don't seem to see the current situation clearly. If you say something wrong again, I will tear you apart. Chapter 696. Changes in the small world. The black monster shuddered. I was wrong. The Eternal Land exists in the depths of chaos and is the origin of all universes. Even the weakest there has the strength of a creator god. The black monster said hurriedly. Yunfan was shocked by what the black monster said, and his eyes twitched involuntarily. So powerful. Then tell me about your true self. My true self is the Eternal Land, one of the four masters, the devouring heavenly beast. In its heyday, it can easily destroy a universe. If it weren't for that war, how could my true self be bullied by a little guy at the level of a creator god? The black monster's tone was full of disdain, as if the creator god was just some random person. Yunfan had heard something in the monster's tone. This person, who was called the god of the sea by everyone, once had the strength of a creator god, and the true self of this black monster should not be weak. Otherwise, the god of the sea would not just seal it here, but would choose to completely destroy the true self of this black monster. Does each of these so-called divine fruits have the same consciousness as you? Yunfan sensed something unusual in the tone of the black monster's voice. How did you know that? The black monster was obviously startled and exclaimed in disbelief. Each of them has an independent consciousness. Don't you clones want to take over? Yunfan asked calmly. Why not? Although we are all clones of the original body, we all have independent consciousness, but the original body can tyrannically decide our life and death. The black monster's tone was filled with deep complaints. He is now in a state of sleep, and the impact on us is not that big for the time being, but if there really comes a day when he wakes up completely, we will completely become subordinates, and his life and death will be decided by him. In that case, have you never thought about resisting? Yunfan continued to ask. Why should we resist? Maybe only if we work hard for him, he will let us separate after he escapes. The black monster was a little uncertain at this moment. If you were the original body, would you allow a betrayer to appear? Yunfan showed a sarcastic smile on his face. No. It seems that you are not stupid. You know that your thoughts are just self-deception. You are all tools created by him. When he doesn't need you, he will definitely take back all his power. At that time, you will just be a wedding dress for the original body. Are you really willing to do this? Yunfan continued. In fact, as clones, they have thought about these problems a long time ago, but these clones don't want to admit it. The information they want to get has been almost obtained. Yunfan suddenly snapped his fingers, and the 3 dark monsters were directly destroyed in the snap. Damn you, you are not trustworthy. I curse you, you must not die well. The 3 monsters roared loudly, their voices full of fear and despair. Just when Yunfan thought that everything was over, a little fluorescence suddenly appeared where the 3 monsters were destroyed. When he saw the fluorescence of the hotspots, Yunfan was really shocked. Yunfan wanted to use the power of the Dragon Ball world to restrain these little fluorescents, but what he didn't expect was that these fluorescents could not be controlled by him at all. It spread in all directions, and then the whole world seemed to have added a catalyst, and it changed dramatically. Yunfan hurriedly used his mind to connect with the Dragon Ball world, and found that the Dragon Ball world was out of his control because of the addition of this little bit of fluorescence. He even had a vague feeling in his heart, feeling the cheers of the Dragon Ball world. Yunfan summoned the world spirit with a thought. Ling Ling, you didn't find anything uncomfortable, did you? Yunfan asked hurriedly. How is it possible, Master? I feel that the current situation is very good. If you can provide me with some more of that power, maybe I can transform this small world into a middle world. The world spirit Ling Ling said excitedly. Yunfan nodded. It seemed that there should be no problem. Yunfan was really afraid that the black monster would take advantage of it. But what kind of power was left after the black monster was destroyed? Yunfan had questions in his mind one after another. Yunfan naturally didn't know that these monsters from the Eternal Land used a power they called the Eternal Power, and the Chaos Power he used, as well as the Destruction Power of the Destruction Clan, collectively known as the Origin Power of the universe. The 3 powers are not high or low, and can be said to be the most original existence that constitutes the universe. The gods who created this universe came from the Eternal Land Creation Clan, but later the gods who created the universe returned to the Eternal Land, and then there were local gods who broke through the realm of the God of Creation, and were regarded as the God of Creation by the people of this universe. In fact, the original God of Creation was no longer in this world. What Yunfan didn't know was that whether it was the God of Creation, the God of Eternity or the God of Destruction, they all came from the Eternal Land. This world is really getting more and more complicated. I haven't figured out what's going on with the Destruction Clan. Suddenly, an Eternal Land popped up again. Yunfan shook his head, feeling that he had a big head. Yunfan walked out of his Dragon Ball world while thinking. Avril and Winnie surrounded him after seeing him. What happened? The matter has been resolved for the time being, but Yunfan felt that the matter was thorny. The existence of the monster made him feel an endless crisis. If the monster's body really came out, I'm afraid the entire Sea God Kingdom would be destroyed. You know, the monster once surpassed the level of the Creator God. If it was him, he would have been sealed here for so many years, and his mind would have become twisted long ago. He would definitely think about how to retaliate, which has nothing to do with strength. From the conversation with the three black monsters, Yunfan had clearly felt that the sealed body could not be a good thing. Releasing that thing would definitely be a way to death. Now everyone in this tribe has gone crazy. Chapter 697 Bad Reviews. Yunfan didn't think he had the ability to get rid of the monster in the seal. The most important reason for coming to this world was to find Amy. Maybe the monster would return to the Eternal Land after coming out of the seal, or not. Yunfan comforted himself like this. At this time, the tribe's chief came in again from outside, with a little anxiety on his face. "Uncle Chief, is there something wrong? Why are you a little absent-minded?" Yunfan couldn't help asking. "Dear guest, don't you know that my tribesman just told me that my daughter Evelyn secretly went to the Forbidden Land without my knowledge, and our ancestors stipulated that people of our tribe must not enter the Forbidden Land?" The tribe's chief showed a desperate look, and then he seemed to think of something, and looked at Yunfan with hope. "Dear guest, can you please do me a favor?" "What's the matter, Uncle Chief? Just tell me," Yunfan said in a flat tone. In fact, he had guessed the tribe's chief's plan, but he didn't say it. "I hope you can go to the forbidden area and help me bring my daughter back. I beg you here," the tribe chief said as he was about to kneel down to Yunfan and the others. "Uncle Chief, what are you doing? Get up quickly, get up quickly. We will agree to your request." Yunfan hurried forward to help the tribe chief up. "Dear guest, so you agree to my request?" the tribe chief said with a happy face. "It's just a small matter, how can we refuse it?" Yunfan said with a smile. "Thank you, dear guest, thank you." The tribe chief thanked him repeatedly. Yunfan sneered in his heart. Although he knew it was a trap, he would still go into it because he had to find out whether Amy was hidden by them. The chief pointed to a mountain trail and said, "This road leads to the Forbidden Land. Because of the admonition of our ancestors, our people must not cross the border. I can't accompany you in. Distinguished guest, you must bring my daughter back safely." "Don't worry, Uncle Chief," Yunfan said as he led Avril and Winnie towards the mountain trail. After watching Yunfan and the others leave, the chief's face showed a ferocious expression. Go, it's almost time. After sacrificing your ancestors, you can come out of the seal, and my people can leave here. Haha. By then, the world can be gone. The entire kingdom of the sea god is in our pocket. The voice was full of madness. If other people heard it, they would think he was a complete lunatic. Yunfan walked with Winnie and Avril. "Dante, why did you go into the trap when you knew it was a trap?" Avril asked, puzzled. "Although this is a trap, I have a reason to go. Amy has been here before," Yunfan suddenly said. "What? How do you know this?" Avril was a little bit unbelievable. "You know, she and Yunfan were just not together for a while, and Yunfan should not have found the information from Amy in such a short time. Of course I have my own way," Yunfan said lightly. "Friends over there, you have been following us for so long. It's time for you to come out." "What?" Avril's face changed. "Why are you going to let me invite you out in person?" Yunfan said calmly. At this time, a figure slowly walked out from behind a boulder. Avril and Winnie looked stern when they saw someone coming out, and they took out their weapons and became alert. "Don't worry, he has no ill intentions," Yunfan said lightly. "How do you know?" the man said with great curiosity. "This is my secret. If it were you, would you tell me your secret?" "No." "Who is he?" "Equileton Clement, a tribal boy who doesn't fit in," Yunfan said with a smile. "Didn't I tell you to take them away from here? Why don't you listen to me?" Equileton Clement frowned slightly. "We naturally have our reasons for not leaving. It's for that girl named Amy." "Do you know Amy?" Winnie couldn't help but get excited. In her heart, her sister was everything to her. "How could I not know? If I hadn't brought her to the tribe, that wouldn't have happened." Equileton Clement responded with a sad face. "What happened?" Winnie gritted her teeth and looked anxious, without the courage of the king of assassins. "Is it a sacrifice?" Yunfan suddenly asked. "How do you know?" Equileton Clement looked horrified. It was absolutely impossible for anyone to tell these people about this, because everyone else in the tribe had been seduced, leaving only himself and his sister would never tell them. "You don't have to worry about this, just tell me how Amy is now." Ji Yunfan's eyes flashed with a trace of anxiety, but he quickly hid it. It's okay now. If I wait for a few days, I'm afraid. What will happen? Winnie said anxiously. I'm afraid you will be possessed. The people in the tribe are preparing to sacrifice you so that the ceremony can be accelerated. Equalidant Clement said. I see. I advise you to leave here quickly. You have taken the fruit, and it is absolutely impossible to stop all this. Going there will only make things worse. Equalidant Clement said slowly. Some things cannot be changed once they happen. I must be responsible for what I have done. You leave here quickly, and I will go to save that little girl Amy. You are very good. Ji Yunfan looked at Equalidant Clement approvingly, but it may be difficult to do it with your strength. It is better for me to do it myself. But, are you talking about the devil fruit? Ji Yunfan smiled faintly. I knew it from the beginning. You mean, you didn't eat the fruit? Equalidant Clement looked surprised. Let's go, lead the way. I want to see what these cows, horses, snakes and gods are. The four people did not encounter any obstacles along the way. Originally, this place was for them to go, so how could they deliberately stop them? You didn't even know to send someone to stop them. It's really perfunctory. Bad review. Ji Yunfan said to himself half jokingly. What bad reviews? Avril asked curiously. Chapter 698. Learning and using now. Nothing. Ji Yunfan shook his head. There is no express delivery in this world. How to explain the bad review? It's so mysterious. Bad review. Avril curled her lips. Ji Yunfan was slightly stunned. Is this the legendary talent? He learned it so quickly. Just when several people came to the deepest part of this so-called forbidden area, Ji Yunfan and others saw a strange large altar standing not far from them. In the center of the altar was a sarcophagus. The sarcophagus was tightly closed, and the strange patterns on it made people tremble with fear. The pattern on it is a special sacrificial pattern. Ji Yunfan has long been a master of Wuxia. He has a deep understanding of the origin. The most important thing is that this is not the first time he has seen this thing. Inside. Could it be that Amy is in here? Avril seemed to think of something incredible and said. Yes, the girl named Amy was sent into the sarcophagus by them. Equalidant Clement looked at the sarcophagus with a complicated expression and said faintly. Damn it. Winnie's face suddenly changed when she heard what Equalidant Clement said, and she flew towards the direction of the sarcophagus. Don't move. Equalidant Clement and Ji Yunfan almost spoke at the same time to stop her, but the two seemed to be a little slow. Winnie had already arrived in front of the sarcophagus, stretched out her hand, and pushed the sarcophagus hard. To Ji Yunfan's surprise, the sarcophagus was actually pushed, and Amy lay quietly in the coffin like Sleeping Beauty. Amy! Avril couldn't help but shout out. Sister! Just when everyone focused their eyes on Amy lying in the coffin like Sleeping Beauty, the lines around the entire sarcophagus suddenly emitted a dazzling light. Everyone was startled and became cautious. The Sleeping Beauty Amy, who had her eyes closed, suddenly opened her eyes, and a golden light shot out from her eyes, followed by an amazing momentum. Amy! Avril exclaimed loudly. Sister! We did the same. However, the silence in Amy's eyes startled Ji Yunfan, and he hurriedly stopped Avril from going forward. Don't go over there. What for? Avril looked at Ji Yunfan in confusion. She is not Amy. At least not in spirit. Ji Yunfan said in a low voice. Impossible. If she is not Amy, who else could it be? Avril was obviously a little unconvinced. At this moment, the Amy suddenly stretched out her hand and directly knocked Winnie, who was closest to her, out. Avril was directly taken aback, and couldn't help but say, Amy, what are you doing? I've already said, this is not Amy. Ji Yunfan mentioned it again, and at the same time he began to look up and down at Amy standing there, and asked Sakadin in his heart, how much power do you think she has now? Although she does not have a godhood, her strength is definitely far beyond that of ordinary lower gods. Sakadin said very solemnly, I think so too. What do you think I should do now? Ji Yunfan was worried. If the enemy came to kill him directly, he could just fight hard. But now he was facing a girl he liked. It was difficult for him. He could not bear to destroy her at all costs. Let's see if we can get that guy out of her body. Sakadin said uncertainly. NND, what happened? I feel like I don't recognize this world anymore. Sakuden couldn't help but curse. He didn't feel any evil soul fluctuations in Amy's body. You should know that most of the gods who can do this are the gods of the undead system who practice evil power. This golden power fluctuation is a bit vast and mysterious, which made him feel like worshipping. Who are you? Yunfan asked coldly. Why do you want to occupy Amy's body without permission? Ant-like guys don't deserve to know who I am. Amy answered silently. You are now occupying the body of an ant. Don't you think it's ridiculous to say this? Yunfan had a hint of sarcasm on his face. What do you know? You are such a humble being, and you are worthy of talking to me. Amy was still very proud. Dedicate your faith, and I will give you power. Yunfan showed a hint of irony on his face. Yunfan would never believe in other people in his past life, or in this life. He only believed in himself. Amy looked at Yunfan and suddenly frowned. You are actually an unbeliever? How could such a person exist here? No, your soul carries the breath of Hua. You are not from this universe. Yunfan's face changed. This was the first time that someone could tell that he was not from this universe. You not only have the breath of Hua, but also the breath of Mu and Long. Who are you? Amy seemed to be more and more curious about Yunfan's identity and asked. You are so capable, why don't you guess it yourself? Yunfan said with a move in his heart. Could it be because of that plan? Amy frowned as if she thought of something and couldn't help but mutter to herself, but you are too weak. Yunfan was silent. Hearing these words from Amy made him alert. It seemed that he had been pulled into a layout from the beginning. Since he crossed over, was it all the layout of a big man? If so, wouldn't he be just a puppet? This feeling made Yunfan very unhappy. Maybe everything was just a coincidence, and his intrusion was also a coincidence. But are there really so many coincidences in this world? It seems that every time he can turn danger into safety, even the crystal of the world is deliberately given to him by someone. Everything is full of too many unknowns. It seems that you don't know it yourself. Seeing Yunfan's performance, Amy showed a hint of enlightenment on his face. Now I'm not talking about how I am. Now I want to ask you what the so-called Lord of Eternity is planning. Yunfan said with a stern expression. Lord of Eternity? Are you talking about me? Amy looked at Yunfan with interest. Aren't you the Lord of Eternity? Yunfan asked. Of course not. My name is Hei, and I'm the master of the Sea God Kingdom. Amy smiled slightly. Impossible. You absolutely cannot be the Sea God. The Sea God. Chapter 699 Poseidon Jefferson Sybil. I have entered the reincarnation cycle a million years ago. Amy said lightly. What I didn't expect was that the subordinates I sent here to guard the seal were so disdainful that they secretly opened a seal for power and even wanted to release it. They simply recognized the thief as their father. Yunfan's mind was full of thoughts. Was what Amy said true? If so, what about this sea god? Hearing what Amy said, Poseidon Clement's expression became complicated. Speaking of which, he was also a member of this tribe. He felt very ashamed that other people in this tribe did such a thing. Of course, except for you and your sister. How is that little girl now? Amy cast his eyes on Poseidon Clement. Are you really not possessed by the devil? After hearing Amy's words, Poseidon Clement looked at Amy in disbelief. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Amy speaks differently than you do. Of course it's different. Amy is just one of my many reincarnations, and I'm the sea god Jefferson Sybil. Amy said in a flat tone, as if she was talking about a trivial matter. That legend is actually true. There are gods who can reincarnate. Sakuden shouted in disbelief, and from her words, we can know that she has reincarnated more than once. Yunfan frowned deeply. He couldn't be sure whether the woman in front of him was still the Amy he liked. What is her current state? If it is the reincarnation of a god, it will have all the memories of this body, and even to a certain extent, the original memory of the body can also affect the god. Sakuden speculated with the knowledge he had read in the book. So she should still remember me. Maybe we can try to awaken her original consciousness. The original consciousness of her body is the real master of this body. Sakuden said uncertainly. It's not easy to awaken her consciousness. She is a god who has lived for who knows how long. Yunfan sighed in his heart. At this moment, Amy suddenly turned her eyes to Yunfan. frowning slightly, as if she was lost in thought. "Are you Dante?" Hearing the other party calling her name, Yunfan's eyes lit up slightly. The other party actually remembered him. "Amy, is it you? I didn't expect that you are the person my reincarnation likes. Apart from a mess of things in power, you don't look that good," Amy muttered to herself with a complicated expression. Poseidon Jefferson Sybil originally thought that he had completely replaced Amy and became the real master of this body, but just a moment ago, Poseidon Jefferson Sybil felt Amy's weak soul, and she actually had fluctuations because of the appearance of this person. "You shouldn't be in this world." Poseidon Jefferson Sybil's expression suddenly became very cold. "Why?" "Because my existence made you, Amy's soul, not disappear," Yunfan guessed. "I have to say you are very smart. You discovered my current state through a simple conversation." Poseidon Jefferson Sybil showed a hint of admiration on his face, but it was soon replaced by indifference. "Your appearance has affected my control of this body. Then what are you going to do to me?" Yunfan raised the corner of his mouth slightly, revealing a smile. "As long as Amy has not completely turned into Poseidon Jefferson Sybil, she may still be able to turn back. Swear allegiance to me," Poseidon Jefferson Sybil said in a very calm tone. "Since you already have Amy's memory, you should know what kind of person I am. Do you think it's possible for me to be loyal to you?" Yunfan also looked calm. "Since you are unwilling to be loyal to me, then I have no choice but to destroy you. Only in this way can I return to my true self." Poseidon Jefferson Sybil raised his head and said proudly, "If you want to destroy me, you have to have this ability. In that case, you can die." Poseidon Jefferson Sybil suddenly stretched out his hand and gently grabbed the void. A blue water blade cut through the void and fell on Yunfan. The extremely powerful blue water blade instantly cut Yunfan's clothes, and then the sound of iron horses rang out, but it did not cause any damage to his body. "How can your body be so powerful? I'm afraid it has reached the level of middle-level artifact." Poseidon Jefferson Sybil's face became serious at this moment. Although she has recovered some of her memories of her previous life, her own strength is only at the level of a lower god. She doesn't have any artifacts on her body. It is almost impossible to kill Yunfan. So your wish now cannot be realized. You will never become the perfect Poseidon Jefferson Sybil. Yunfan smiled happily. "Remember that your man is me." "Insolent," Poseidon Jefferson Sybil said viciously. "Tell me how I was so presumptuous." "I just told my woman that I was her man," Yunfan said with a smile. He now had a guess that Amy's consciousness had always existed and had not disappeared. Only by fully awakening Amy's consciousness could Amy be brought back. "What you are doing is meaningless. My return is inevitable unless you kill me." Poseidon Jefferson Sybil returned to his original high and cold state. "As long as I'm always stronger than you, Amy will never disappear. This is a fact that you cannot deny anyway," Yunfan said in a flat tone. "Do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because your body is strong? I used to be the god of creation. What about the god of creation? Anyway, you are not my opponent now," Yunfan said happily. I really like to see you, a high and mighty god, angry," Yunfan said as he released his mental power and rushed towards Avril. "I want to see if I can suppress Poseidon Jefferson Sybil with my own strength." Obviously, it did not achieve the effect he expected. Yunfan's mental power was directly resisted by a powerful force. Chapter 700 Power. This power comes from the sea god's kingdom. Although she is no longer the real sea god, as the original owner of this kingdom, the entire kingdom unconsciously protects her. In this kingdom of the sea god, unless someone has the power of the kingdom, it is impossible to kill the sea god Jefferson Sybil. Just when Yunfan and the sea god Jefferson Sybil were in a stalemate, a middle-aged man suddenly appeared in front of everyone. "Chief." Equalident Clement's face changed slightly, and he couldn't help but exclaimed, "Equalident Clement, I didn't expect you to be so ungrateful. I told you a long time ago that you were not allowed to come here. Why didn't you listen?" The middle-aged man's eyes revealed a trace of cruelty. "Chief, don't make mistakes again and again. This will not benefit you or the entire tribe at all. Without the power of the god fruit, how can you know the beauty of this power?" The middle-aged man said crazily. "What power? That's just a scam." When that monster comes out, he will take away all the power. Equalette and Clement said loudly. How is it possible? Power is a gift from our ancestors. How can he take it away? The middle-aged man's face changed slightly, and then he shook his head repeatedly. It's simply hopeless. Yunfan showed a disdainful smile on his face. This guy had already lost his eyes to power. Amy seemed to be not interested in everything that happened. She looked at the middle-aged man's performance there indifferently, as if she was watching a jumping clown. Great ancestor, please wake up. The middle-aged man suddenly shouted crazily. As if responding to the call of the tribal chief, the surrounding sky darkened in an instant. Who is calling me? A low voice suddenly sounded. It's me, the honorable ancestor. The tribal chief said hurriedly. Who are you? The voice sounded again. I'm Springhall Gias. The ancestors gave me the divine fruit. Oh, it's you. What's up with you today? The voice said. I followed the orders of the ancestors to find the person with the divine vein. Now I have found him, and even found the sacrifice. Please use your divine power to break the seal and return. The tribe leader Springhall Jarvis said hurriedly. Oh, you have actually found the person with the divine vein. At this moment, a strange wave spread instantly, and Yunfan felt as if he was being spied on. Mallory Aldridge, long time no see. Amy suddenly said. Who are you? The voice was a little low. It was unknown how long it had been, and someone still knew his name. Did you forget it so quickly? Amy said faintly. You are the sea god Jefferson Sybil. The guy seemed to have thought of something and said angrily. It seems that you still remember me. The sea god Jefferson Sybil's mouth curled up slightly. You damned woman. The voice was filled with endless resentment. If it weren't for you, how could I be trapped here? This is your own fault. If you didn't want to replace me and occupy my kingdom of God, how could you end up like this? Amy said lightly. I was sealed up, but how good are you now? Your godhood is broken, and you have to reincarnate again and again. The voice was a bit gloating. I'm afraid you are less than 250,000 in your prime. Maybe it won't be long before you disappear completely. It seems that the seal needs to be reinforced again. You bitch. The voice returned to the rage at the beginning. Quick, sacrifice her. The voice was like a demon from the underworld, filled with endless murderous intent. Yes, ancestor. The tribal leader Springhall Jarvis looked crazy. He suddenly took out a purple scepter from somewhere and suddenly raised it. A purple halo was released from the scepter, and then the halo flew towards the direction of Amy and the sarcophagus. Amy, be careful. Avril couldn't help but shouting when she saw her best friend in danger. Amy snorted coldly, and countless blue water droplets suddenly appeared around her, and the purple halo was actually blocked directly outside these blue water droplets. The tribal leader Springhall Jarvis looked very embarrassed. How could you do it? Humph. In my kingdom of God, what can't I do? Amy said proudly. Your kingdom of God, your kingdom of God. You are really the god of the sea. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You have fallen thousands of years ago. How is it possible? The tribal leader Springhall Jarvis has been in a state of madness because of the appearance of that voice. He didn't pay attention to the conversation between Amy and the mysterious voice. Degenerate, rebel. You are ashamed of your ancestors. Recognizing the thief as your father is simply a shame for the Jarvis family. You don't deserve to be called this name. Amy's tone was as cold as ice that has not melted for thousands of years. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. The sea god has died a long time ago. You must be lying to me. The tribe leader Springhall Jarvis actually knew very early that the guy in the seal was not his ancestor at all, but he was unwilling to admit it. He greedily wanted to possess supreme power, and he did not rely on himself to become a god. Humph, it's great. It's just a dog biting a dog. Haha, interesting. Really interesting. Continue. Don't stop. The voice was full of endless teasing. See God, you bitch. Do you feel anything? Do you feel like you are not entrusted to the right person? Mallory Aldridge, it's been so many years. Why haven't you made any progress at all? Do you think I have no other arrangements? Amy said disdainfully. What? The voice was obviously a little unbelievable. How much power do you have left now? After separating so much power, I'm afraid there is not much left, right? Haven't I made any backup plans after being reborn for several lifetimes? You underestimate me too much, Mallory Aldridge. Amy said lightly. Impossible. You absolutely cannot know your plan 3000 years ago. Or know how you wore away the original seal. Amy continued. You know everything, but why didn't you stop me? Why should I stop you? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.